Part 291. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2913. Jia Yan looked at the white dolphin lightly. Then he showed a little smile. Who said I wanted to cause the world to collapse? He asked. The white dolphin looked extremely ugly, looked at the shaking world, and roared, You said you don't want the world to collapse, so what's the situation? Do you think I'm blind, huh? Just when he was about to continue roaring something, his expression suddenly changed. Looking at the fluctuations in the sky again, within half a second, his expression darkened. Looking at Jia Yan with murderous intent, the white dolphin no longer looked at the shaking world barrier, and said extremely coldly, When did you do this? Seeing that he finally reacted, Jia Yan couldn't help but chuckled and said, Last time, do you think I am such an impulsive person, letting my true body disrupt this world just because of my anger? The white dolphin felt cold all over and said in a trembling voice, You are just trying to sneak into Chenkang. That's right. If I hadn't stepped into this world in my true form and almost destroyed it, how could I have concealed it from you and placed these things in the middle of the world barrier? Deng deng deng. The white dolphin took a few steps back with a gloomy face. He was speechless. Click, click, click. As the two people here were talking, the object that appeared in the sky had already broken through the sky, tore apart the void, and descended into this created world from inside the crack. Good. These are just a few little toys that Jia Yan deliberately placed in the cracks of space after taking advantage of the arrival of his true form that day to create a large number of unusual movements to attract attention. To his true form, he is really just a little toy. It's just a few yin-yang magic weapons that the real body refined at random. However, for the real body, it is just a thing that can be easily refined, but for the first level strong men who come to this world, it is definitely a thing that can change the destiny of the world. The refined object made by the senior domain master, and it was made using his unique cultivation method. It is only used by the first level strong men of the star. If it cannot even improve a little bit of strength, it would be too unreasonable. Just wait and catch it. Jia Yan whispered. After all, if the gadgets that they managed to sneak through Chenkang fall into the hands of the enemy, although they should not be able to produce combat effects if they take them without using them, it would be too much of a waste of natural resources. Yes. It was naturally impossible for the group of powerful men in the sky not to turn a deaf ear to these words. This group of star-level powerhouses from the Black God system flew into the sky with impatience one by one, flying towards the strange-shaped artifacts that had just emerged from the cracks. Stop them! The white dolphin received Jia Yan's reminder and quickly roared at the first-level star powerhouses of the White God system. Not only these primary stars of the White God system, but also many White God system God-level and invincible realms were flying in the direction of those behemoths. Everyone knows that this should be one of the methods of the Black God system. If it cannot be destroyed, the balance of battle may be even more tilted towards the Black God system. Those in the invincible realm are even more desperate than those at the divine level, because for them, this world is their home world. If the White God system fails, they will have no place to stand, so they will naturally work harder. Don't even think about it. Seeing that the powerful men he was fighting with all left, the Black Tiger God of War snorted coldly and went straight to the sky. The unexpected battle situation began to evolve into everyone fighting for the object summoned by Jia Yan. However, some star-level powerhouses from the Black God system stood relatively close and received their exclusive combat weapons immediately. They were originally strong men in the Orion arm who had learned Yin and Yang Dao, and several of them had come all the way to join the Orion arm just for the sake of the Yin and Yang Dao. Therefore, as soon as I receive the Yin and Yang Dao magic weapon in my hand, I immediately understand how to activate it. Ha ha ha, adults, watch out, my subordinates will kill the enemy for you. The first person to receive the magical weapon of Yin was a monster that looked like a giant silkworm. Each segment of his body was covered by the magical weapon that flew out. Every segment of his body had black and white markings. The colors emerge, and each section is either positive energy or negative energy. As the so-called yin and yang approach, it perfectly suits this person. Puff. The giant silkworm spit out the silk thread in its mouth towards the giant white god system star level that flew a few kilometers away from him. These silks turned into steel and rose into the sky. Little tricks. The incoming star-level strongman was about to enter the star-level intermediate level. He didn't take the silk attack from a star-level beginner at all. However, he did not discover the strange power contained in this piece of silk. Puff. As the silk approached this strong man, it burst open, containing extremely terrifying power, and penetrated the body of this white god system star-level strong man like a gust of wind and rain. Huh? How is this possible? The white god-type strongman of the first level of the star was suddenly shocked. He reluctantly used the last bit of strength to break free from this so-called silk attack, and escaped from another shot of the silk. Looking at his body, he saw the broken holes on his body. The damage is hard to repair. Be careful, everyone, it's quite weird that they got this kind of weapon. The man yelled. Naturally, the stellar logo experts around him didn't need any advice from him. They knew they had to be on guard after seeing his end. However, it is somewhat regrettable that among the black god-type experts who were competing for the giant weapon that appeared outside the crack, only 2 of the 5 powerful experts managed to grab it. The other 2 were caught in an extremely fierce battlefield where you and I were fighting for each other. There was even a direction, and I don't know if it was luck or not. A yin-yang magic weapon that flew out and resembled a giant crown was held on the head by a strong man from the white god family. The strong man from the black god family failed to snatch it. Jia Yan, if you summoned these things quietly, maybe we were not prepared and you succeeded. I didn't expect that you were stupid enough to summon them in front of everyone. The situation now is not what you thought. It went well. This white dolphin realized that the battle situation was not as dangerous as he thought. He looked at Jia Yan with lingering fear and laughed even more ferociously. Jia Yan looked at this person silently and said calmly, "Oh? Do you think I failed? Haha, you will know after reading." If fighting for weapons would lead to failure, he would not summon them grandly in front of everyone, but would prepare for the stellar powerhouses long before the war started. The purpose of cramming like this now is definitely not as simple as letting the enemy take away the weapon. The novice star with the yin-yang Dao crown magical artifact on his head laughed almost uncontrollably. "Young man with the Orion arm, no matter how hard you try, you didn't expect me to be right next to this crack. Now I can't help but laugh. The weapon is in my hand, even if I can't activate all the power, I can still isolate you from waiting for them, so what can you do to me?" The primary being of Jia Yan's subordinate star in front of him had a cold expression. He looked back and saw Jia Yan thousands of kilometers away. After Jia Yan nodded, the monster's face also had a slight smile. "Why are you laughing?" The one with the crown on his head snorted coldly. "I laugh, someone is seeking self-destruction and yet he's so proud of it." After the strong man of the first level of the star finished speaking, he began to mutter something. "What is self-destruction? You are sensationalizing." The first level star expert of the Bayesian system suddenly looked a little flustered. As a star, especially one who grew up in an external environment, it can be said that he has an unforgettable fear of senior domain masters. Now that he thought about it carefully, the weapon on his head was made by the senior domain lord who in his eyes could be regarded as a god, but he actually put this thing on his head, proudly thinking that he had plotted against the senior domain lord. Lord, how senseless is this? Senior domain master, you can figure it out just because of your speed? Would they leave such a big loophole for you to pick up? Is this crown really like what I imagined? It doesn't matter if I just put it on my head casually. You, what are you reading? Shut up. Soon, the man felt something different, and the crown on his head gave him a splitting headache. He was suddenly frightened, and pointed his spear at the Orion Arm Star Junior powerhouse in front of him. An offensive like lightning and thunder was launched. After all, this first-level star being was close to the strong man of the middle-level star. In an instant, he moved hundreds of kilometers and came to the first-level star in the Orion Arm. As soon as the foot steps out, it will explode with strength exceeding the primary level of a star, and injure the Orion Arm strongman with one blow. The primary star being, who was mumbling something calmly, watched him approach. A giant furry creature raised its hand, pointed at the man and shouted, "Ding!" The final word. The crown on top of his head was as if there was a real hammer on it, shaking the star-level powerhouse of the White God system, and shocking his whole body to the point where his mind was rippled. Well, this strong man of the White God system understood in an instant that things from the Orion Arm, especially those belonging to senior domain masters, should not be picked up randomly. It might kill you if you pick it up. However, at this time, he had no chance to regret it. Sure enough, as Lord Jia Yan said, these magical weapons are all under your control. The primary star being in the Orion Arm suddenly looked overjoyed. He quickly seized the opportunity and took advantage of the crown to frighten the strong man of the White God system. He instantly approached the stellar enemy, with a trace of ferocity and furry eyes appearing in his eyes. He clenched his fists tightly and struck hard at this star-level enemy. I cannot be reconciled. The strong man of the White God system, who had just escaped from the shock of the crown's power, found that he could not escape this fatal attack, and his eyes showed a bit of unwillingness. However, he did not even have time to raise his own strength, only to feel that huge fist hit his head. On top of it, his head was shattered into countless pieces, shaking the whole world. Cool. The Orion Arm's first-level stellar expert felt very contented. Normally, he would not have the chance to kill someone of the same level. After all, even in the same level, he was only at the bottom. After all, when Jia Yan wanted to shake people, he was looking for weak Xingxing Chu who would not easily cause turmoil in the world. Level. Creak. The crown projectile flew very far, but was controlled by the brainwave power of this first-level star expert. It flew back slowly and then buckled it onto his forehead. He is not worried that the crown will cause his head to explode, because if Lord Jia Yan wants to do that, there is no need to use such a strategy. When he put on the crown, he only felt that the yin and yang Dao power in his body was vaguely connected with the crown. I can't say that the power doubled, but it definitely improved. What's even more amazing is that his perception of the world, a little more. As a strong man, he knew what this meant. The enhanced understanding of the world means that my combat effectiveness may skyrocket. Taking a breath of cold air, his eyes became serious. Since this thing fell into his hands, it means that Lord Jia Yan made it for him, and he didn't say whether he would take it back later. Maybe after this battle, he will give it to himself. Then we must spare no effort to serve you. Just in time, let's try this handy new weapon. This behemoth, covered in fur, quickly charged forward against the large number of powerful white gods who were chasing him. Even though there was a white god among the crowd, he showed no fear at all. In another battlefield where weapons were robbed, the white god system star level was swinging a 10-kilometer-long stick that flew out of the crack. But when he discovered the movement here, he was immediately frightened like a frightened bird, and threw the stick towards the Orion Arm star. Well, the Orion Arm's first-level star warrior was having a headache on how to snatch the weapon. He didn't expect that the enemy would give him face so much that he threw it at him. In fact, he really wanted to say that Master Jia Yan told him that his stick weapon did not have the ability to recognize its owner, and he needed to find a way to snatch it back by himself. Unexpectedly, before he could figure out a way, The enemy was so frightened that he threw the stick at him. What a good enemy. Since I'm giving you face like this, then when I kill you, I'll be a little more painstaking. This Orion Armstar Jr. powerhouse is a monkey-like guy. When he holds a stick in his hand, he has the power to swallow mountains and rivers. With the blessing of the yin and yang magic weapon, he dances with the stick like a tiger, and slaps it down, every time. The sticks are full of the positive and negative explosive power that is representative of yin and yang dao. The power is so terrifying that even high-level star beings probably don't want to be hit head-on. So far, the two robbed weapons were all recovered in a short period of time, and one of the enemy's stellar masters was killed. How is it? White Dolphin, are you happy too early? Jia Yan looked meaningfully at the dumbfounded White Dolphin. After saying that, he ignored the White Dolphin who was breathing rapidly and had no interest in listening to his explanation anymore. You've seen enough drama, have you almost recovered from your injuries? In this case, we should start fighting again, otherwise the subordinates will be fighting lively while our two generals are standing by and watching, and the people below will have objections. He assumed a fighting stance, causing the White Dolphin to nod in silence, and Yinying also assumed a fighting stance again. What you said makes sense, Jia Yan. If you let me regain my fighting strength, you will regret your arrogance later. Having said this, Jia Yan also understood that the White Dolphin indeed had other back ups. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2914. In fact, Jia Yan is willing to let the White Dolphin quietly repair his body, but he is still worried that he will choose to escape to the outside world if he can't hold on any longer. There is no need to worry now, because he deliberately used the magic weapons in the cracks of space to open up the world, and the barriers in this world have become crumbling. If the White Dolphin cannot hold on and wants to escape, it will find that the barriers in the world are about to collapse. Even if his clone wanted to escape, it would be hindered by a chaotic barrier for a moment before it could rush to the outside world. During that time, Jia Yan was enough to kill the White Dolphin and White God clone. In other words, from now on, Jia Yan can be bold and show no mercy. Now, the real battle between gods begins. He looked at the White Dolphin with a faint smile. Let him understand how big the gap is between himself and his so-called young master. He had long decided to fight to the death with the young master of the Bai family, but with his temperament, Jia Yan still held back his passion. Of course, various restrictions were one reason, but another important reason was that he wanted to see someone. Something I haven't seen before. Sometimes you can slowly and fiercely fight against the enemy, and you can see different scenes. However, still not suitable for Jia Yan. He still likes the kind of fighting style that involves fierce battles and rapid differentiation. Even if there is a bigger war in the future, no matter how difficult it is, in his opinion, he will not go back to such a unique and protracted war, right? When Jia Yan finally gathered some energy and launched a second offensive against the White Dolphins, on the battlefield in the distance, several stellar powerhouses from the Black God system had all grabbed their own exclusive weapons. Whoever the senior domain master said it would be given to, that would be who it was given to. The other strong men want to fight for it. Just like grabbing food from the mouth of a tiger, it is completely impossible. Ping. The edge of the world is like a mirror, shattering directly. With the confrontation between these two people, more and more places are shattered. The whole world can hear the screams of the world. It seems that the next moment, this created world will be completely destroyed, and together with it to bury the planet and life of the entire world. Everyone has a sense of impending disaster. What happened? Jia Lin didn't understand the truth at all. Now she heard the screams of the world and felt that the whole world was crumbling. The shock that could not be described in words hit her heart. Don't worry, Adisha will protect you. Adisha came to Jia Lin's side and released a ray of energy to protect Jia Lin. Although she is not 100 times stronger than Jiolin in terms of combat power, it is certainly dozens of times stronger. And the key is that as a person who knows how external energy operates, she can protect Jiolin immediately even if the world is destroyed. Locals are not so lucky. Many venerable level beings were fighting in the sky, regardless of the black god type or the white god type. They accidentally touched the void land that the two creation gods had just hit, and the whole person seemed to have fallen into unimaginable shattering. Machine, the body's information seemed to be cut off, dissolved into particles and disappeared. Many people took a breath after seeing this. They are not afraid of death, but they are afraid of dying in such a way that not even the scum is left. The world is going to be destroyed because of the actions of the two creator gods. This, please ask the two Lord gods to show your respect. Although many people thought before the war started that this would be the final battle between the black and white gods, and that it might be a devastating battle, many local people never thought that these two people were so powerful that they could reach such a high level to destroy all the created worlds of Nyata. There are many panicked people. Of course, this also made them realize that even though those huge and terrifying monsters were scary, they were not on the same level as the creator gods. These two were really capable of destroying the world with one hand. Of course, they don't know that if they just destroy the world, those star-level experts can also do it, but they don't do it so lightly. Even the ordinary god level can be used, but it will take a long time. Hey, let me tell you, where are you looking? Flesh and blood flew everywhere. The Taoist clone was distracted by the invincible state of fighting with him, and killed this man with a sword. Everyone behind him was completely silent. Characters who are obviously not in the invincible realm really kill the invincible realm. The beggar's clone on the other end did the same thing, taking advantage of the pause in the battle to cut the enemy into pieces. Looking at the two disciples in the distance, they were as distracted as the enemy for a moment, and then they remembered to attack each other. The two clones were helpless. It seems that their disciples are not good enough to ignore external variables. Of course, even Jia Yan himself might have been shaken by the shaking of the world if he didn't know that it was the turmoil caused by the black god's true form. Forget it, these two disciples, let them have a good fight with their respective enemies. As masters, it's better for us not to interfere. The two clones looked at each other and sighed. Then they called in the capable generals of their troops and ordered many important events. Yes. But sir, is this what you want? One subordinate responded to their orders one by one, and then felt a little surprised and uncertain. Haha, you kid, you are so weird. Have you been suspecting something since the first day I came here? On the other side of the beggar's clone, he looked at his subordinate who had been leading the troops for so many days, smiled and rubbed this man's hair. Sir, please don't do this. There are so many people watching. You kid, you are a think tank that I personally trained. It's okay for you to be half of my apprentice. What's wrong with rubbing your head? Besides, if you guess something, if I rub your head, you don't think it's you. Is it an honor? Ah. You are really. The face of the wise man who had his head rubbed changed wildly, and he looked at his careless boss with a shocked expression. Although he had thought about this possibility countless times in his heart, he still couldn't believe the fact before him. The beggar clone stood up calmly and let go of the subordinate. Well, besides you, there must be several people who are vaguely aware of it. Now I won't hide it from you. The War of Gods has come to this point, and it's time for me to return to my original state. Haha, it's okay. Say goodbye forever. This. Each of the generals had different expressions. Some were suddenly enlightened, some were shocked and confused, and some were confused. Sir. You are really. Oh, it's really troublesome. You don't need to talk to me. I've said it all. I understand everything you need to know. I won't explain what you don't understand. In short, I will go back. For the next war, you can either go fight from a distance, or disband on the spot. This war has been going on now, and it's time to look at the backup plan. You won't be of much use anymore. I understand, so get out of here. But. Nothing but, by the way, take away the two little bastards over there. After all, they are also my nominal apprentices. Okay. The beggar's clone stood up and floated into the starry sky. Many subordinates looked at the leader below. Even if some people didn't understand it just now, they suddenly understood it when the people next to them whispered. Some people who had dissatisfied with this beggar chief regretted it and even had a little fear. Because according to what everyone said, this is the clone of the Lord God. Lord Black God has already invested a large number of clones in various war zones. Many people have said that Lord Black God's clones are elusive and appear in various forms even in smaller battle groups, including the way of weak soldiers. And in front of him was one of the clones of Lord Kurakama, and he was a senior military official who had led this army for more than a year. No wonder it is so unfathomable. It turns out that he is a clone of the Creator God. No wonder he can defeat the invincible realm with the Venerable's primary sense of energy. Because he is the avatar of the Creator God, isn't it normal to do this? On the other side, the Taoist clone was also giving instructions. Until the figure of the man in the distance floated up, he vaguely knew that the time was up. Thousands of sword shadows turned into the sword body and returned to the scabbard on his back. With a click, the sword flew into the hands of a trustworthy subordinate. If there is a chance, I will save this world. At that time, you give this sword to my unlucky apprentice. In addition, tell her that the secret is to be told to your beloved first. There are some things that cannot be done now. Doing it may be something you regret for the rest of your life. Yes, sir, I understand. The subordinate's entire face looked slightly out of shape due to shock and excitement. However, the Taoist clone would not wait for him to return to his original state. He stood up in full view of everyone and looked at the scene of the war. He couldn't help but sigh. He did the same thing as the beggar clone. No matter how different the two people's personalities and approaches may appear to outsiders, deep down, they are actually the same person. Now I sighed, feeling inexplicably melancholy for a moment, and then I regained my energy. Together with the beggar clone who came in front of me, I headed towards the center of the war, which was also the area that caused the turmoil in the world, and turned into two bolts of lightning that exceeded the speed of light. Go! At the same time, similar lightning flashes came one after another from all over the battlefield, from all over the world, and even from within the underworld, piercing the sky and coming. Hundreds and thousands. Some of the original identities of these lightnings were like beggar clones and Taoist clones, becoming high-ranking members of the Black God Department's troops. Some are ordinary people, farmers, businessmen, servants, rich men, high-ranking political officials, even evildoers who commit crimes, and even villains who are extremely disgusted by the whole world. There are some rays of light that are even more intriguing. They fly out from the White God Kingdom, and at the same time as they fly out, there are also a few traces of the lives of the middle and high-level people in the White God Kingdom disappearing. Although at this point, ordinary officials can no longer have any impact on the overall situation, but the clones in the light take action out of various moods, as if to relieve stress. After all, Baishan Kingdom has been extremely turbulent recently, and many incidents have occurred, some of which would make even Jia Yan feel nauseous. As for the so-called evil ones among his clones, although they cannot be said to be completely among the good guys, they basically did not violate Jia Yan's inner principles. They either punished rape and eliminated evil and did something illegal, or they were slandered by others. Stigma. In short, after they turn into a ball of light and gather towards the center of the battlefield, people who are belatedly aware of it will completely wash away these notorious reputations. After all, no creation God would do such a thing. Even if the creation of the world, if God does it, no one will care about it anymore. When they discovered that so many light spots gathered together, and finally arrived not far from the battlefield in no particular order, including the beggar's clone and the Taoist's clone, they all collided together and finally turned into the brightest star in the starry sky. The scene is dazzling. Damn it! You actually still have so much energy in the outside world. White Dolphin and Jia Yan had already fought to the point of life and death. However, seeing this scene, they couldn't help but twitch their eyebrows several times. His heart felt vaguely heavy. Although he still had great confidence in his next step, Jia Yan's repeated methods caught him off guard and almost made him despair. Emotional. Isn't it normal for a strong person to resort to some tricks? You wouldn't say that in your so-called Northern Territory, the strong people don't make pre-war preparations. Then, right? It really disappoints me. Jia Yan sneered lightly. Ping. The weapons of both sides collided again. At the same time, the star turned into a bright star and flew unswervingly into the void and chaotic starry sky. Bai Haidao was shocked by the last blow and spurted out blood again. He staggered a few steps and had no time to stop him. He could only watch helplessly as the bright ball of light came to Jia Yan's hand, and then Jia Yan stretched out his hand. Hold it in the palm of your hand. This is a small product that ultimately resembles a glass bead, but such a product contains endless power. When Jia Yan pinched the glass bead was like snow melting in spring, rapidly shrinking in a way visible to the naked eye. This is the energy that is rapidly dissolving itself and entering the body of Jia Yan's black god. After all, they are the same person. Although there are various life insights in it that have slowed down a little bit, they are still as fast as lightning. The whole process took only 2 or 3 seconds, until the bead completely disappeared in Jia Yan's palm. He had not had time to recover from his bleeding state. Call. After absorbing all the clone energy, life insights, and various creative ideas about the world, Jia Yan let out a long breath. In the past, the clones were allowed to cooperate in training, which only allowed them to integrate into the Black God's clone, but they were not actually swallowed. Now that the war has come to the final battle, he will naturally devour all the clones to enhance his own power. Now after devouring it, he realized as if it were a lifetime ago, how much enlightenment and strength these clones had brought him. Creak. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2915. Creak. Jia Yan clenched his fists. The action of clenching the fist caused the destruction of the rules of the world, and cracks appeared in the already empty space. You know, this is already a void space, and it is also the most basic structure that protects the entire created world, and it is also the most difficult place to destroy. If it breaks apart, it will be the galaxy. Okay, White Dolphin, your pride as the young master of the Bai family, your so-called methods, and everything about you should come to an end. Jia Yan looked at the White Dolphin expressionlessly. His eyes were electric. But it seems burning. The White Dolphin looked like a sunken dog. He felt a little uncomfortable when Jia Yan kept talking to him. That's what I said. Jia Yan, your mission as a strong countryman has come to an end. All your energy and your cultivation achievements should be dedicated to this young master today. Although White Dolphin is the defeated general, until now, he does not think that he has lost anything. So what if he was injured and suffered a few minor defeats? Today, if we only look at these, he did lose, but in this small world, isn't everyone's backhand compared to others? And here, is the world he created. Don't forget, he is the creator, and everything in the world was constructed by him. Oh, no, Jia Yan also participated in part, and even used Aditya's computing power to suppress it and change the world. But those were irrelevant. After all, everything was done under the watch and acquiescence of the White Dolphin. He believed that even at this critical moment, he still had the upper hand. Groan. The two raised their fists in one hand, and there was energy rippling between their fists. A large number of world fragments were completely turned into nothingness because of this simple ripple. It can be seen how powerful the yin and yang Dao energy between the fists is. Degree. The White Dolphin was sweating like rain, white power blossomed between the fingers, and black blossomed between the other fingers. The energy ripples of each section were like the blooming flowers, which was sad and exciting. Shocking beauty. The invincible realm around them has held their breath. Every moment in the confrontation between the two creation gods is a path of cultivation that they covet. Even if they spend their entire lives, they can understand any moment of the two confrontations, which is enough for them to understand many great principles of cultivation. However, there seems to be no possibility of such a thing other than humiliating oneself. The battle between senior domain masters, even the battle between clones, is definitely not something that the world-creating lifeforms with imperfect rules can comprehend. The next moment, under the gaze of dazzled onlookers, the two creation gods collided with each other without any tricks, and they didn't even look like strong men. It's just that this collision seems to be without any tricks, but if you take into account the distance traveled by the two people during the attack, it will be staggering. In that moment, they traveled thousands of kilometers in between, as if they had mastered real teleportation. The destructive energy rippled through the world until every planet was shaken to its core. The two men marched straight in, attacking each other closely. Jia Yan uses his quite proficient Onmyado fighting skills, while White Dolphin uses the magical fighting ability developed after coming to this world. Didn't you just fight a head-on battle? Don't overestimate your own capabilities. Jia Yan's expression remained unchanged and he spoke sarcastically. Jia Yan, you don't need to be weird. You will know if the result is the same as before. The White Dolphin was full of rage and suppressed it, and a thrilling power rose from inside his body. Oh! Jia Yan knew that the White Dolphin's back move did not come from the outside world, but came from within the body of his White God clone. It was an energy comparable to the middle level of a star. And with the emergence of this energy, from inside the White Dolphin Bashan's body, there was a vague, looming brain-shaped thing, which appeared for an instant under the obstruction of the body muscles, and then disappeared into the body again. This is... Jia Yan was slightly shocked, and some thoughts flashed across his heart like lightning. He soon understood. Oh my God, you are such a cruel person, you actually moved your brain into your own body. What a creative idea. Jia Yan was really surprised. The increase in White Dolphin's strength did not surprise him. Because he knew that the White Dolphin would have a backup plan, but he didn't expect that the White Dolphin's backup plan would actually hide its brain inside his body. You know, the intelligence brain controls the basic laws of the entire world. It is understandable if it is placed in a remote place. Even if it is thrown into the cracks of the world, it is quite reasonable. But the naughty kid White Dolphin threw it inside the body of his own White God clone? Jia Yan suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. Fortunately, he had fought so many times with the White Dolphin before, and his inner brain was not destroyed. Otherwise, let alone the destruction of this world, even the large amount of spiritual power he invested in this world would be completely destroyed. The world is wiped out. Fortunately, that didn't happen. The White Dolphin worked hard to hide this treasure until now, and finally let him know about its existence. Boom! The energy, which exceeded the level of the Venerable, exploded in the sky with great surging force. Jia Yan's Black God clone was undoubtedly unable to withstand it. His whole body was like a piece of tattered cloth, directly hit by the strong wind, spurting blood and flying backwards. The fist filled with yin and yang energy that resisted the white dolphin immediately softened, as if the bones of the fist were broken into pieces. The white dolphin, who is at the peak of the venerable level, is already not far behind Jia Yan. Now that it has raised its energy to the mid-level star level in one breath, it is a certainty that the white dolphin's combat effectiveness far exceeds that of Jia Yan. Amazing. Jia Yan's expression turned solemn. He knew that white dolphin was cheating, and there were no problems with cheating. As someone who has participated in world design, he and Edisha once saw the white dolphin's draft revision of the world, and they clearly knew one thing, that is, the rules of the world are based on the premise of protecting the world's brain. A very reasonable rule is that the safety of the intelligence brain is placed above the safety of the entire world. After all, everything is maintained by the intelligence brain. If the intelligence brain is gone, then the meaning of the existence of this world will be gone, or it should be said that if there is something wrong with the brain, the world cannot exist. Jia Yan agreed to this after thinking for a moment. After all, you can't destroy your brain when fighting in this world. However, I didn't expect that the white dolphin originally wrote this law, which was the law that protected the intelligent brain, and also deliberately hid the intelligent brain inside his white god's body. No wonder no matter how Jia Yan asked Edisha to look for it secretly, she couldn't find the so-called world intelligence brain, because it was inside the white dolphin's body. No wonder, no matter how hard Jia Yan searched, he couldn't find where the backhand that the white dolphin was still so confident at the last moment was, because the backhand was basically inside his own body. Jia Yan. Why, you didn't expect that this was my backup move? Have you figured out a way to deal with me? If not, the shame and humiliation you have brought to me must be taken back today. The white dolphin, who has never shown much domineering power, showed an extremely happy smile after his brain showed up for a rare occasion and punched Jia Yan away. Because of the self-protection principle of Ji now, it allows the protectors around it to have power beyond the level of the venerable, and has reached the upper limit of what the world can accommodate today. Stellar mid-level. A level that no one can break through. Since the white dolphin is a being with similar strength to Jia Yan, it is naturally easy to deal with Jia Yan after being 2 levels higher in the minor level. To put it bluntly, the white dolphins are now floating, and they have the capital to drift. No wonder, you have been pretending to be a grandson for so long, and you didn't show any panic after being seriously injured. Is it because you have such a final resort waiting for me? Jia Yan staggered, stumbling around the edge of nothingness, and took a deep breath. Then he forced himself to shake his head and smile. It seems that you really have a strong backup plan. It's really troublesome. The white dolphin strode towards Jia Yan and said slowly, "What's the trouble? Do you want to say that you still have a way to deal with me? Stop wishful thinking. Just now you and I were deliberately destroying the void of the world. You or I did it intentionally. I just followed the trend. You may not know why I did that, right? Because my purpose is the same as yours. You deliberately destroyed the world and didn't want the galaxy to affect this place. The same goes for me. Since you have a history of breaking in with your real body, how can I make the same mistake again? In the current void, it is already difficult for you to let your real body get in." Jia Yan was stunned for a moment, then nodded helplessly, acknowledging this. The bitter feeling came out from the bottom of my heart. This should be the result of being smart but being mistaken. I was full of confidence, and I also calculated that the white dolphins might have foreign aid coming from the outside world, so when I fought with the white dolphins just now, I deliberately guided the white dolphins to destroy the basic peripheral structure of the world, causing the world to become unstable. Stabilize. If the strong people outside or their respective true bodies want to rescue, it will not be that easy. What's even more deceiving is that he used the space mezzanine to let those magic weapons fly into the world one by one and hand them over to his subordinates. Although this was a good move, it also led to a greater degree of damage to the barrier on the periphery of the world. It is very difficult for the outside world to invade this world in one go. In other words, his smart move, at the last moment when White Dolphin showed its backhand, actually seemed to be a wedding dress for White Dolphin. They were deceived on purpose from the beginning and teamed up with Jia Yan to destroy the fundamentals of the world. What do you think? Jia Yan, if you stop resisting, I can consider letting go of your subordinates. After all, many of them are talents. I am still interested in accepting them to become my core members in the future. Like a white dolphin defeating a rooster, it has already arrived in front of Jia Yan. With the surging midstellar energy boiling all over his body, as long as this being who directly increases his power by 2 small steps and uses the combat skills that have reached the senior domain lord level, it is not a problem to kill Jia Yan. Jia Yan also understands this. So he is bitter. But there was no despair. Because he also has a backup plan. And there's more than one backhand. The worst case scenario is that he abandons all the foundation he has built in this world, escapes directly, and returns to his true body mentally. This should be something that White Dolphin cannot predict, because he does not believe that Jia Yan can still have such a thing. Such spiritual power can also penetrate the world. But Jia Yan is confident that he can do it, so no matter what, he cannot die here. So he was still calm and relaxed, even though he felt a little unhappy. Do you want me to surrender? Are you going to let me kill you on the spot, or are you going to let me be humiliated in front of your subordinates and then kill me? White Dolphin wrote lightly, it depends on which one you choose. If you are a masochist, it is not impossible for me to use the second method. Jia Yan smiled disdainfully. What I think is what you think. If you can pull yourself out at this moment of victory, throw yourself in front of your subordinates and slap your face, etc., it will definitely improve your status in the eyes of those powerful black gods. After all, these powerful men of the black god system are, but all of them still have their true bodies in the outside world. If they decisively cut off contact with their true bodies at this time, there is still the possibility of escaping. Even if the white dolphins come out with a great victory, they may encounter this kind of thing. The stubborn resistance of the subordinates. Although Bai Dolphin should not be afraid, he doesn't want to be so troublesome. Moreover, as Bai Dolphin said, he should still covet Jia Yan's subordinates for their abilities and talents. If they can take them for themselves, it will be good for his entire Bai family. In terms of strength, it is definitely a great supplement. However, all these premises and wishful thinking must be based on the premise that Jia Yan will definitely lose. Haha, if I say, I don't choose either, what do you think we should do now? Jia Yan laughed mysteriously again. Huh? No choice. Do you think, under current circumstances, you still have a chance to make a comeback? The white dolphin was extremely surprised. He thought Jia Yan was a smart man, although this smart man was tricked by him. But it cannot be denied that in the previous battles, although he had long been planning to use tricks against Jia Yan, he also got really angry with Jia Yan several times and tried every means to determine the outcome. However, all results were failures. Today, knowing that he has terrifying strength that is absolutely impossible to lose, this once respected opponent actually said that he would not choose either. Does he think that he still has room to struggle? Impossible. As a senior domain master, Jia Yan had no reason to be unclear about the strength gap between a peak venerable and a mid-level star. In terms of combat skills, even if there is a gap between White Dolphin and Jia Yan, it probably won't be too different, so simply using energy level to measure the strength difference between them is enough. The current White Dolphin is enough to crush 10 Jia Yan. He. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2916. The situation was critical, but in the face of such a sudden turn of events, Jia Yan, the man facing the greatest danger, laughed loudly. White Dolphin snorted coldly, Jia Yan, why are you laughing? Are you trying to be a ghost before you die? Jia Yan shook his head with a smile and said, I laughed at you for being too naive, White Dolphin. I guess you have never fought a life or death battle with a senior domain lord. Do you know that a senior domain lord's opponent is in such a trivial situation? You were overpowered. Even if you were overpowered, your attitude is not like that of a person of this level. Jia Yan couldn't tell what he wanted to express. Are you talking about the white dolphin showing off its power? In fact, among the strong people he has experienced in the past, there are many arrogant and unruly people, and the existence of brainless people does not exist. But no matter what, no one would give Jia Yan the feeling of a white dolphin. Too weak. Not on the physical level, but on the spiritual level. At least he doesn't have a personality that matches the level of a senior domain lord. At most, he is like a star-level person, no more. Although the white dolphin didn't hear clearly what Jia Yan said, it completely felt that Jia Yan was ridiculing him again, and he felt very angry. Coincidentally, the two of them were approaching quickly again with lightning and flint. After the flash of swords, the sky and the earth instantly exploded into red masses. Jia Yan was bleeding profusely, gasping for air and keeping distance from the white dolphin. The white dolphin had a sneer on his face and no longer bothered to speak. When it came to speaking, he could see that there was a fundamental gap between himself and Jia Yan, and he seemed to get very angry every time he said a word. It would be better to just start fighting without saying a word and be done with it. The white dolphin stepped forward again and leaned close to Jia Yan. The white magic power in his hands soon bloomed, covering the entire world. Let's see how you run now. Why should I run? Jia Yan's eyes wandered a little. White Dolphin really thinks that he will be defeated if his clone's strength reaches the mid-level star level. In other words, if he behaves like this, it means that this method is his last resort, right? Jia Yan thought for a moment, and finally got out of his thoughts before the white dolphin's attack with increased energy landed on his body. Regardless of whether he had other means, he had to neutralize this blow, otherwise the whole great victory would be ruined here. Haha, if you don't run away, then you will die. The white dolphin looked at Jia Yan as if he was really indifferent, and almost trembled with excitement. How could he miss such a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? He was going to take the opportunity to cut Jia Yan into pieces. Even though he also guessed whether Jia Yan had the ability to escape to the real body, as long as he killed this clone, don't give up. The huge spiritual power in his body combined with his real body will definitely cause Jia Yan's real body to be weakened by more than half in an instant. If he, the white dolphin, comes to the city as the winner again, his real body will have to die unless he abandons the Orion arm and escapes. So now he is betting that Jia Yan definitely does not have the strength to deal with his stellar energy. Edisha, oh, help me with that trick. Jia Yan suddenly shouted softly somewhere in the sky. The sound was bundled into a line, as fast as lightning, at least twice as fast as the white dolphin's attack, and flew into the ears of a little girl who was fighting a fierce battle with the enemy in the distance. Okay, Editha, help my brother. Amid the uproar, Edisha raised her fists high, regardless of the enemy she was dealing with. Court death. The invincible person who fought against Edisha had a sinister expression on his face, thinking that Edisha was seeking her own death. During the battle with him, he actually dared to be distracted and even gave up his defense. This was not seeking death. Roll. Just when the invincible young man was about to take advantage of the situation to solve the trouble, a shout came from the distant starry sky that made him freeze to the bone for an instant and made him unable to move. The invincible man retreated hundreds of meters, blood spurting from the corner of his mouth, and looked towards the source of the distant sound with a frightened expression. It turns out to be the Black God. Is this the power of the Lord God? You don't even need to get close to yourself, but you can drink yourself into serious injuries from thousands of kilometers away. How powerful is it? The invincible man took a deep breath and retreated to search for other opponents, not daring to go against the little girl again. After all, the black god seems to be in a panic being chased by his own main god, but he is still the main god no matter what. Maybe he really wants to kill himself, just a matter of words. Can't afford to offend. It's better to find some ordinary black god type invincible realms with no background. Can you dodge this move? Jia Yan, you still have 2 brushes. The white dolphin made a series of moves, but Jia Yan dodged them with great difficulty. Only one of the 3 moves hit part of the body of Jia Yan's black god clone. But, what are you thinking about? In order to avoid long nights and endless dreams, let me deal with that stinky brat. The white dolphin looked at the little girl thousands of kilometers away with her 2 little fists raised towards the sky. Just in case, he planned to kill Edisha first. Although he is a powerful young master, he does not resist this kind of act of eradicating the enemy at all. Regardless of children or anything else, as long as there is a threat, all will be eliminated. This is probably one of the reasons why the white dolphin has lived for so long and can grow to the level of a senior domain master. Goo. A white magic power appeared in the white dolphin's single palm, and then he threw out this mysterious white power that had been spinning in circles like throwing garbage. The target was clearly Edisha, who was still doing something with her fist extended. This white energy was extremely fast, and it was about to approach Edisha before many powerful black gods could react to support. The huge white magic aperture bloomed directly visible to the naked eye when it reached the point where Edisha raised her hand to the sky, turning into 100 meters in diameter, covering a large swath of the starry sky. Run away. Jia Lin was stunned. She never thought that she would still be able to enjoy power attacks at the level of the Lord God in this war. She and Edisha must be looking down too high. However, she also knew that she was just a gift. The main target of the White God series leader was Edisha. No need, Edisha will not be in danger. Edisha hummed as she looked at the giant white magic that was about to cover her suddenly. Just as she said, when the dangerous magic was about to kill this little Lolita, along with Jia Lin and a large number of strong men from both sides, another shadow as fast as lightning came first and rushed to her death. Arrived in front of the white magic. Jia Yan. The white dolphin stared angrily. Jia Yan also stretched out his arm, and a black energy ripple bloomed in his palm, as if something had just been emitted. The mysterious and unpredictable energy body that emitted was the shadow that came first. The shadow lay directly in front of Edisha, protecting her behind her. Crackling. An earth-shattering sound sounded the next moment, and the 2 sides collided. And in this collision, the midstellar attack from the powerful midstellar man, the white dolphin's clone, was actually blocked. And the black figure disappeared as quickly as the spring snow melted. Everyone is in a state of shock. However, no one discovered that the figure was really alive. Or maybe that's not the right thing to say, but rather, it should be said that there is indeed a humanoid creature inside that figure. He is one of Jia Yan's thousands of clones, and he has just returned to the Black God clone. However, it does not mean that all of them have been turned into energy. He still has a few interesting clones among them. Now a plane flies out directly, but this plane has almost lost all its sanity and merged with the Black God's clone. Therefore, Jia Yan is very willing to die in place of Edisha, and the memory of this clone has been absorbed by him. Sword. That clone, at the last moment of its life, revealed the afterimage of the Taoist. With the appearance of this afterimage, all the energy and spirit of the entire clone, as well as countless insights that had survived in this world for a long time, were also present. Everything burst out from this sword. This will probably result in the loss of part of the swordsmanship and energy perception he has learned, but this loss is not an exaggeration. For Jia Yan, as long as he can block the white dolphin's blow, it will be enough to make up for it. The overwhelming energy is a turbulent wave. The girl holding the sword in the distance looked a little panicked. Then, is that the master? It's impossible, I'm my master, he's my master. Silly girl. It's your master. Your master and my master should be the clones of Lord Kurakama. You still think they are masters? Xiao Wu tried his best to resist the shockwave that was more than 5,000 kilometers away. However, even though they were so far apart, he only felt that he and the little girl he was protecting were like a boat, teetering on the edge of the stormy waves. Yes, it's a clone, it seems so, but my master. The young queen's head was as big as a bucket. It was clear that in the burst of energy just now, she saw her master flash past, as if everything was burned, resisting Bai Shen's casual attack. Does this mean that his master is dead? But it doesn't seem right. If my master is a clone of the Black God, doesn't it mean that my master is also the Black God? But, I always feel like something is weird. The young lady's brother was a little confused. Careful. Xiao Wu saw that she was still in a daze over the death of the afterimage, and was furious. He found that a battleship was blown in front of his face by the energy of the storm, and he quickly threw the girl down, and the two of them rolled and flew in the air. After walking a few hundred meters and avoiding the wreckage of the battleship, Xiao Wu realized that he seemed to be frivolous. But no matter that much. You stupid woman, just tell me if you want to die. That way I can turn around and leave without being dragged down by you. But my master. The little girl always felt extremely heartbroken, as if the master had turned into that sword and died. Even though she knew in her heart that the master was the clone of the Black God, she still felt something was different. You are indeed a woman. You are so indecisive. That's how it was back then. When I followed you into your team, I wanted to steal the money you hid in the ruined temple. You, a good old man, even regarded me as your brother. Can you change your good-natured temperament? Huh, the young queen wanted to say something, but was stunned and looked at Xiao Wu. You said, temple. You know it's me. Xiao Wu found that he was speechless, and his words were stagnant. Then he coughed, scratched his head and said, yes, I know it, but I didn't know it very early. I didn't know it until I came out of our martial arts star last time. Wasn't it more than a year ago? Oh my God, you brat, you obviously saw it, but you hid it from me? Okay, did you deliberately not say it because you saw my joke? No. No, stop. Brother Wang, I'm not afraid of embarrassing you. Xiao Wu was hit by Brother Wang's shy pink fists like raindrops, thinking dumbfounded, okay, you ungrateful girl, you were just seeking death and survival. I wanted to find the master, but in the blink of an eye, I forgot about the master. You didn't tell me until now, would it make me more embarrassed? You are a bad boy. The young girl's brother was so angry that she didn't expect that her little fist was tightly held by Xiao Wu, and she couldn't struggle out despite all her efforts. If she had taken the flying sword, she would have been able to break free easily, but for some reason, she had no strength at all. Xiao Wu looked at the shy girl in front of him in amazement and said with a smile, actually, what I want to say most is that Brother Wang, you are really tall. When we parted at the foot of the mountain, you were taller than me. Half a head shorter, but in the past few years, you are already a head shorter than me. Isn't it natural that you are a boy? I don't regard you as a girl. Alas, where has my heroic and protective brother Wang gone? You brat, do you want to take advantage of me? Believe it or not, even if you do this, Brother Wang can beat you until you cry for father and mother. Don't, I believe it, can't I believe it? Let's not talk about this first, and then we talk about it after we leave here. The battle between the two main gods, I'm afraid it's dangerous to be so close. Okay. By the way, Brother Wang, let me ask you something. What's up? If neither of us dies after the war, you can marry me. You're looking for a fight? You dead thief. Hey, hey, brother Wang, don't you agree? Then pretend I didn't say. I, I, I didn't say I disagreed, you, okay, I agreed. Ha ha ha, great, Xiao Wang's wife? I have a wife. I'll go find my master later. I want to tell my master the good news. You bastard, you still act like a fool. There are so many people here, why don't you act like I didn't say anything about it? Oh? Are you willing to use your clones to block attacks for her? Let me see how many clones you have. On the other side, the white dolphin looked at the pale Jia Yan with a little surprise. He did not choose to continue attacking Jia Yan, because even Jia Yan, whose strength was completely impossible to his current level, was not that easy to deal with, so it was better to try to kill Edisha first and cut off Jia Yan's possible backhand. But he was obviously a step slower. The blow just now shouldn't be thrown casually. If he went all out, Jia Yan might have to pay a little more in the form of a clone. Okay. Brother, get ready. Your magic weapon is here. This volume is over, and the next volume will have a new atmosphere and even a new story. I hope everyone can support Ziobu as always, thank you. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2917. The situation changes. The whole creation world made a crisp sound like a piece of silk being torn. A black luminous object tore through the space with great difficulty. However, the object, which seemed far smaller than the magic weapon of a stellar powerhouse, seemed to have caused an unimaginable burden to the world, and was vaguely about to break entire regions of the world. Little Edisha's whole body lost all color and her face was pale. It is not difficult to see that she is the one who made this thing enter the world of creation. As mentioned earlier, this world is a world created by computers, and the entire world is actually within the mathematical model built by computers. Although it is extremely complex, it is impossible for any living being to crack it with calculation power. Even senior domain masters and even the strongest people in the galaxy cannot beat computers in pure mathematics. However, there are exceptions to everything. That's a half-life like Edisha. She is a computing body given life by the intelligent brain. Even though her computing power has degraded to less than 1/10,000th after entering the world, this is by no means comparable to that of ordinary living bodies. Even if you can no longer destroy the mathematical program of the white dolphin's intelligent brain at will, you can open a small gap in a small area and steadily send certain forbidden things from the outside without causing the world to collapse as much as possible. It's completely possible to get here. And the thing that was sent into it soon seemed to have found its owner. After finally squeezing its whole body into the world, it was wrapped in a repulsive brilliance that was almost squeezed out by the world. With a sudden sound, it disappeared on the spot. When it reappeared, Jia Yan had already gently held it in his hand at some unknown time. Ding! Jia Yan flicked it lightly, and he heard the sweet sound of the long sword-like weapon in his hand. He seemed to be fascinated by the sound of an atomic structure that was completely out of this world, revealing a little obsession. Look! White Dolphin, what do you think of my weapon? Please taste it? The white dolphin on the opposite side had been completely distracted by the external weapon that Jia Yan suddenly held in his hand. He was slightly distracted. All he could see was the flash of lightning and flint in front of his eyes, and the blade of the sword had already pierced his eyes. A feeling of horror suddenly arose in his heart. So fast. With no time to care about why Jia Yan was able to introduce this weapon from the outside world, he quickly turned around and stepped sideways to get rid of the shining black sword. However, the blade of the sword rotated like a shadow, close to the edge of his body, and slashed down again. The white dolphin leaned down again in embarrassment, and then staggered away from it, with a look of great concentration and shock on its face. Jia Yan, who was holding this strange weapon, seemed to have greatly improved his strength. Even he who had reached the mid-level star level felt a little difficult to deal with him. Being caught off guard and stabbed twice, he also felt a little sense of crisis. "What's wrong with your sword?" He looked ugly. "What's going on?" Jia Yan held out a sword flower teasingly, feeling surging with strength all over his body. This energy from his true body instantly boosted the strength of his black god clone, directly breaking through the restrictions of the venerable level and reaching the primary level of the star. As the avatars of senior domain lords, their improvement is so miraculous. As long as they have the right strength for their true body, it is not a problem to increase their power as much as they want. Of course, the premise is that the real body is that strong. You can hide the world's core computer in your body. Why can't I summon weapons refined from my true body from the outside? Jia Yan laughed, without any sense of shame at all. Talk. Up to this point in this battle, no one really thinks whether there is a foul or not is a big deal, right? Both parties have done everything that was agreed upon that cannot be done, and no one can pursue the other's problems. In fact, this should be the situation that should have been thought of at the beginning. No one is very clean. There was a tacit understanding before, but it was because they were afraid that the other party would slip away early. It's not easy for anyone to escape now, so it's okay to break up. The white dolphin's expression darkened for a moment, then it exhaled turbid air, snorted coldly, and assumed a fighting posture. Even if you have weapons, you have only upgraded your strength to the primary level of a star. With my body, I have reached the intermediate level of a star, and you are still far behind me. Really? If it really lags behind you, just give it a try. Jia Yan smiled calmly, pulled out his sword, and the silhouette of the figure flickered, and in the next moment he had rushed in front of the white dolphin's face. As fast as lightning. The white dolphin felt shocked, and then raised his fist angrily. White magic light flowed on the fist, and the magic exploded instantly. Another anti-power magic bloomed, and it exploded quickly again. Taking advantage of Jia Yan's positive and negative combat system, the power of the white dolphin is not just talk, but extremely strong. Click click click. The figures of the two people clashed rapidly in the air, shattering large swaths of the world into pieces. They penetrated into the void so that no one else could observe them. However, they reappeared from other places in an instant and were fighting passionately and passionately again. The level of these two people is not on the same level as any other battlefield. Not only did their strength break through to the star level, but also their original understanding of combat strength and control of energy were essentially different from ordinary strong men. However, the more they fought, the more ups and downs the white dolphin's mood became. There was even a hint of panic. Because he found that this clone of the middle-level star was actually a little unable to defeat Jia Yan, who was only the first-level star. He couldn't help but have the thought in his heart, I can't beat Jia Yan with the same level of energy. However, this idea was quickly extinguished. If he was so unbearable, Jia Yan would have led his subordinates to start a decisive battle with him in the outside world, and he would not have followed him to the creative world and slowly fought for several years. This broken sword. The white dolphin looked at the long sword with crazy energy raging from time to time in fear, and its expression continued to be uncertain. He finally figured out that the sword that the Edisha intellectual being put in with great effort was the key to Jia Yan's rapid improvement in strength. What's more, it's actually a powerful weapon refined by Jia Yan's true body. Not only did it smooth the gap between the primary and intermediate levels of stars, it also caused uneasiness in my heart. What's wrong? White Dolphin, you can't even fight against my primary star clone. This makes me a little dissatisfied. You are not qualified for this great enemy. No need to waste any words, Jia Yan, you know what level your current strength is. The White Dolphin frowned. The two sides fought another 10 moves in the void, but to no avail. The white dolphin used the force of the shock to retreat violently, and then looked solemnly at the black sword in Jia Yan's hand. At first glance, this long sword looks black and plain, as if it was abandoned on the roadside. No one would think it has any power. However, hidden under the blackness, is its terrifying energy like a calm volcano. It was this sword that abruptly raised the strength of Jia Yan's clone to the primary level of a star. No need to think wildly. This sword is my magic weapon of yin and yang dao. It's like the 8 classics. Although it's just a small toy suitable for stellar use, it seems to be just right for the current situation. Jia Yan kindly put another sword flower on his arm and answered questions for the white dolphin. He has long liked to use his human clone to make cool moves, so not long after he took the sword, he held the sword flower several times just to show off. White Dolphin seriously doubted that if he didn't stop this guy, Jia Yan would be able to fly into a helicopter with Jianhua on his arm. However, his unique mind did not allow him to react too much to these insignificant little humors. He was extremely annoyed by the weapons Jia Yan was using now. Some discouragement is growing. He obviously has a perfect plan every time and has so many backup plans, but Jia Yan always has a way to deal with him. Even now, in a world where it is theoretically impossible to unleash star-level power, he has attracted so many junior subordinates of stars, and even made his avatar possess the combat power of mid-level stars, but even so, as a passive defender Fang Jia Yan still fights and kills, and has the means to fight against himself. He couldn't help but have self-doubt. Even if he has other means, can Jia Yan resolve them one by one? Besides, he had no other means. Is he just so far behind this so-called evolved beast genius? The feeling of disbelief and the somewhat uncomfortable feeling of being hit were tangled up in my heart. White Dolphin, are you feeling unhappy? Do you think that I am invincible? In fact, if you are willing to surrender, I am not unable to accept it. Jia Yan's sword flower arm felt comfortable. He stopped, and calmly looked at this enemy from a distance. Jia Yan, you don't have to be hypocritical. Only one person between you and me can get out of this world. You should also know this. White Dolphin's face darkened. Jia Yan stretched out his hand to stop him and said, "Of course I know, don't think I'm a fool like you, okay? What I mean is, if you are willing to cooperate with me on this, I don't mind giving you the power and your family, a chance to live." You. White Dolphin was furious. Speaking of which, let alone his temperament of being easily angered, even a scheming person would definitely be furious. Wait, there's no need to be so hasty, I haven't finished speaking yet. Jia Yan was amused by the white dolphin's expression, which he thought was extremely humiliating. He distanced himself a little further, as if he was an elder who was teaching earnestly, and continued to talk. "Don't you have a wife? I'm not talking about Na-kun, this is woman, I also know his nature. No matter how gorgeous he is, people like you and me should be disdainful. I am talking about that, female military god, right? You don't need to look like this. Look at me, since you have investigated my information, how can I know nothing about your affairs?" After soothing the pale white dolphin, Jia Yan seemed to be saying something normal, and said calmly, "Your wife, and you, have an heir. As far as I know, he was obsessed with cultivation in the past. Your Excellency, it seems that there is only such a heir, right? You said, if I win and you go out, and then use my current strength to defeat all your troops, and take advantage of the situation to attack the leaderless Bai family, can your Bai family stop it? It should be impossible, right? After all, as a senior domain master, you should know how terrifying our senior domain master's strength is. What's more, if I can swallow your energy, how strong will my strength be by then? Even I can't estimate it. Is it unrealistic for you to resist me? And if I capture your territory, will I be able to rule stably? Let's not talk about it for the moment. I will only say that if I initiate an act of revenge, your family and you will. I don't need to say much about whether the coalition forces will end well, you can also imagine their ending. Now, I will give you a chance. If you are willing to surrender to me, I will spare the lives of the mother and son. I can even exile them to forces that are kind to you. If there are any of your descendants in the future, I am strong enough to take revenge on me, and I will never take the initiative to stir up trouble before taking action against me. If you are willing to accept this, I can definitely guarantee it. How about, now your wife and the Bai family? What happens to the final seedling depends on your decision. As the white dolphin listened, its eyes changed from the original anger to grief and indignation, and finally to rationality and decadence. As a strong man, he had enough to see that the sword that sealed the true body's power contained extremely terrifying power. He can even imagine that Jia Yan's magic weapon, which is famous for its explosion, actually has the characteristics of explosion. Let alone himself in this world, even his real body may be injured by the explosion of this weapon. In other words, when this sword appeared, his defeat was already doomed. Jia Yan was amused by the white dolphin's expression, which he thought was extremely humiliating. He distanced himself a little further, as if he was an elder who was teaching earnestly, and continued to talk. Don't you have a wife? I'm not talking about Na-kun, this is woman. I also know his nature. No matter how gorgeous he is, people like you and me should be disdainful. I am talking about that female military god, right? You don't need to look like this. Look at me. Since you have investigated my information, how can I know nothing about your affairs? After soothing the pale white dolphin, Jia Yan seemed to be saying something normal, and said calmly, your wife, and you, have an heir. As far as I know, he was obsessed with cultivation in the past. Your Excellency, it seems that there is only such a heir, right? You said, if I win and you go out, and then use my current strength to defeat all your troops, and take advantage of the situation to attack the leaderless Bai family, can your Bai family stop it? It should be impossible, right? After all, as a senior domain master, you should know how terrifying our senior domain master's strength is. What's more, if I can swallow your energy, how strong will it be? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2918. White Dolphin is being threatened by Jia Yan's words, and he even has a heartbeat. After being moved by himself, he was willing to make sacrifices for his wife and children. However, just when he was about to compromise, something in the heart of the white dolphin flickered slightly. Well. The white dolphin looked shocked, clutching his chest and panting violently. Although there was no air in the void space, he was breathing to express his inner shock. Maybe this is because after being a human for a long time, habits become natural. What's wrong? Jia Yan frowned, not wanting to encounter any obstacles at this important moment. It would be best if things could end in this simple way. Unfortunately, the opposite happened. The white dolphin panted for a moment, then raised its head with murderous intent in its eyes. Humph, Jia Yan, up to now, you are still looking down on my opponent. If Zhinao hadn't reminded me, I would have fallen into your trap again. Jia Yan was embarrassed for a moment. Did he still refute? I do look down on the white dolphin a little, but this is also caused by the white dolphin's own uselessness and character flaws. In addition, the existence that made the white dolphin wake up was his brain? Then there's no way. Since you are so stubborn, I will kill you myself, then retract my words and destroy all your children and wives. He stopped chattering. There was no point in using these methods. It's better to take advantage of the white dolphin's inner conflict, take the initiative, and kill it in one go. Many subordinates of the Black and White God department around looked at the movement here from a distance. They saw that the white dolphin was gone. Some were happy and some were worried. However, they found that the war had encountered variables and the war was restarted. These people had no choice but to take action again. You guys give up. Master Jia Yan will kill your so-called young master. Why don't you save some strength and wait until the world war is over to return to your true form so you can escape? Qingling has escaped the fate of taking care of the two children, because Etisha has already taken Jia Lin back to the rear of the army, so there should be no worries about safety. Her combat power was finally released, and she was able to beat the two white gods in front of her who had been entangled with them for a long time, and it was described as miserable. Sir Qingling, what you said is wrong. Even if my young master loses, he will definitely bring you huge trauma. This is determined by the young master's character. Qingling was silent for a moment. She admitted that the other party was right, because the character of White Dolphin was probably that kind of person. He is an honest man and has signs of schizophrenia. It is not surprising that such a guy will do anything when he becomes crazy. If he risked his life and went to hell with Jia Yan, maybe even Jia Yan would be severely mentally damaged, which would affect the safety of his real body. Boom boom boom. In the center of the battlefield, Jia Yan used his yin and yang dao, and he had the magic weapon longsword in his hand. Although the energy was not infinite, self-destruction, the most useful fighting method, was also sealed, making him a little less smooth in fighting. However, the one who was even more unsatisfied than him was the White Dolphin. The conspiracy just now seemed to be rejected by the White Dolphin, but the worry that remained deep in his heart planted seeds, and he was still struggling in his heart while beating him. White Dolphin, think about it again. Your goal is strength and climbing to a higher mountain. Now that you have a full understanding of me, you should admit that my talents are far above yours. Then since you are going to lose, why not hand over your power to me willingly, which can be regarded as letting me see the higher peaks of the strong for you. If I stand at the top of the galaxy one day, I am destined to take care of you. Your family's race, don't you think that's a nice thing to talk about? Jia Yan made a few moves, and with a vicious plan in mind, he immediately blurted out these words. The shadow of a small machine vaguely appeared on the White Dolphin's chest, causing him to snort slightly. He was not affected by Jia Yan, but his eyes turned red. He didn't want to admit that Jia Yan was better than him. However, after fighting against Jia Yan in person, even if he is a genius like him, he has to admit that Jia Yan, who is still in his early 100s, is indeed better than him in every aspect. Especially when it comes to character, White Dolphin is the most convinced. Because White Dolphin has no talent at all when it comes to controlling his subordinates and dealing with people. In his past life, he had to watch the older generation of subordinates devour his own interests and dominate him, even though his strength exceeded all others. People still cannot escape this fact. Even the young and strong sect, which should have been the most willing to accept him, has gradually evolved to look down on himself. On the other hand, Jia Yan was firmly in control of his subordinates. How could White Dolphin not be jealous of this ability? But he still refused to surrender. Jia Yan, after a few more exchanges, White Dolphin's eyes lit up and he spoke coldly, "It turns out that your improved strength is not as strong as I thought. I almost fell into your trap." He was surprised and delighted. If Jia Yan was really as scary as he said, the White Dolphin was helpless, but after a few more attacks, even if the White Dolphin realized it later, he realized that Jia Yan was ruthless and would do nothing to him. There is no way. Haha, I'm just controlling the intensity of my attacks. It's a pity that you don't want to believe that I have the ability to defeat you quickly. I'm so stubborn. Just pretend that I haven't said anything about all my previous promises. The White Dolphin is now awake. He only felt that he had encountered a great shame and humiliation, and shouted, Stop trying to confuse people with my evil words. I have already arranged the escape of my wife and children. Even if you are capable, you will never be able to deal with them." After saying that, he raised a lot of energy, and a huge white magic formed in the sky that covered the size of an entire planet. Then this huge magic energy, like a phantom, quickly shrank, and in an instant it became the size of a person. The internal energy density is astonishing, blooming directly in front of Jia Yan's fist. Click. Jia Yan was not that dangerous, but a huge gap suddenly opened in the space behind them. A ray of energy that does not belong to this small world enters in a twisted way. Hoo hoo. The world was immediately covered by some kind of twisted energy. However, this twisted power was quickly balanced by the power that only belonged to creating the world, and the turbulent world recovered from the trembling. The laws of this world are doing their best to balance the world, as if it also has consciousness and is struggling to survive. After bathing in the power of the outside world, all the local strong men trembled violently. Those with some weaknesses, or the old, weak, sick, and disabled, their bodies dissipated directly like spring snow melting. After all, they are characters with simple rules who created the world. When they collide with the energy of the real world, even if it is just a small ray, they will be destroyed physically and mentally. What kind of power is this? This kind of power is very similar to the energy carried by those behemoths. Could it be that, is this where the gods come from? What is their relationship with our world? Why was this kind of power poured in after our world was shattered? It is rumored that our world is actually a closed world. Is this speculation true? I don't believe it, I don't believe it. We actually, are people living in a closed world? Then who are we? The faces of the many strong men around them all looked extremely ugly, as if they had been struck by a bolt from the blue. Looking at the powerful gods, some of them have stopped attacking because the power of the main god's confrontation is too great, and have retreated to the side of the large army. This group of god-level experts showed some memories of the incoming energy. Some of them were even more exaggerated. The energy-absorbing technique was activated, and all the external forces that came to the body were absorbed. It was not like those dissolving existences were severely damaged, but on the contrary, their strength was vaguely increased. Now, they became more confident in their guess that the gods came from the outside world. God. It is possible that everyone in this world is not the same person. There have always been speculations about gods, and the two major god systems do not restrain the people's speculations, because after they fight this war, they will not care whether the created world is dead or alive. So today, a lot of speculation has been confirmed. Many hearts are racing. Of course, even so, it will not affect the final battle between the two gods. The battle has reached this current situation, no one has any way out, and no one will use any means to hide it. Either you die or I die. The white dolphin snorted and began to roar. He began to reveal his violent nature. I was suppressed too much before. An honest person has been bullied for a long time, and it would be absolutely terrifying to suddenly liberate his mind one day. The current white dolphin probably has this mentality. If he can win, leave the outside world with such a violent mood, and become a decisive and killing madman, his status may be far higher than before. Because that is a way of rule by the strong. You don't have to be wise, you don't have to understand development and governance, but you absolutely cannot be as indecisive as a white dolphin, bullying the weak and afraid of the strong. Crazy is better. But he had no chance. Poof. The tip of a sword penetrated the strong man's abdomen. Just as the blood was about to flow out, it was drained away by the void world. The white dolphin held the hilt of the sword and pulled out the blade fiercely. His entire ferocious face was filled with complex emotions. Zi. The magical power formed a ray of light on the abdomen, and the abdominal wound quickly returned to normal at a speed visible to the naked eye, as if it was not injured at all. However, both sides knew that this was just a cover-up. The White Dolphins scored twice with injuries, which widened the strength gap between the two sides. Jia Yan is getting better and better, holding the magic weapon longsword in his hand, and performing more exciting performances, while the White Dolphins' combat power continues to decline. The battle between the two sides will not last long. The failure of the White God system is a foregone conclusion. Roar. Just as the battle situation between the two main gods here became increasingly clear, there was another powerful White God level god over there. While roaring, he was slapped in the front and back by the two black god-type gods who besieged him. On his back, this person was considered mighty. He roared with an aura that was almost as powerful as the main god, and shook away two black gods. He was on the verge of collapse. He looked deeply in the direction of the White Dolphin, then shook his head helplessly, and his whole body turned into like gravel, blown away by the wind. Died. The White Dolphin happened to see the scene, and it was a huge blow to him. That god-level powerhouse is none other than White Dolphin, another middle-aged god who exists like a sea-fixing needle. That middle-aged strong man, a territory lord-level existence, had just fought fiercely with the Black Tiger god of war, and steadily controlled a large battlefield in the palm of his hand. With him, the White Dolphin could compete with Jia Yan in the battle of the Lord Gods. War. Now that this person is gone, other powerful men from the Black God sect may have the opportunity to watch him on the main battlefield and use sneak attacks and other means to attack him anytime and anywhere. What's more, he was almost defeated by Jia Yan. Even if the extra Black God Masters did not attack him and watched the battle from the side, it would cause huge psychological pressure on him, making him unable to fight Jia Yan wholeheartedly. In other words, there is no possibility for him to make a comeback. More White God type experts around him sighed secretly when they saw this scene. Nothing can be done. There was another strong man from the White God system who had long been scheming. He was obviously an elementary level existence in the outside world, but he single-handedly charged at the Black Tiger god of war. Find bookstore. Without any surprise, this man was struck back by the Black Tiger god of war, and his body was scattered. The gap between the territory lord level in the outside world and the primary level in galaxy can be said to be as big as heaven and earth. However, after entering this world, if this person performs well and delays the Black Tiger god of war with a few moves, there should be no problem. But he was killed in one move and his body was divided into 5 pieces, leaving nothing behind. It shows that this person wishes to die. In the silence, several white gods around Qingling looked at each other and smiled bitterly. They could see the meaning of their teammates without communicating. Look at the punch. One person punched the head with unparalleled power. Qingling Dai frowned and simply got out of the way. Then she threw out her satin long-sleeved magic weapon and punched the person in the chest. Qingling understood that these guys were going to leave this world by giving away their heads. Because the war has reached this point, the outcome has been decided. Instead of making the final struggle, it is better to leave early and go to the real body, so as to avoid Jia Yan's side also escaping and looking for traces to kill their real bodies. That is the real eternal death. Even if she knew the purpose of these guys, Qingling would not show mercy, because if she didn't kill them, she wouldn't be able to keep them alive for much longer. It's better to get rid of these guys as soon as possible, and join forces with Black Tiger to kill the White Dolphin together. After all, they are both Domain Lord level. Although the power of the Lord God level is like the power of heaven to them, compared to other God level strong ones, they can still intervene in that level of battle here. Puff. Ah. Pyridine. Well. Young master, we have tried our best, alas. Shirakami gave a sad, bitter laugh, and then rushed into Kurakama's team, where the gap between the enemy and ourselves became increasingly disparate, treating them like the Shirakami version of the kamikaze. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2919. Oh no, they were afraid that some powerful person from the Black God system would be dragged to death by them, and then they left the world and searched for them outside. Although the design of this world is that it is not easy to be found after leaving, but with luck not good. Therefore, they would rather die in their own avatar than really let the people of the Black God department die at this time. At most, it would be just pretentious and full of momentum. A sword swung out. An arm fell down. There were some ripples on the black sword edge, and inside these ripples, blood that only belonged to the Lord God level spattered, exuding bursts of white brilliance. The blood quickly disappeared in a flash. White Dolphin, it seems that your subordinates are not loyal enough to you. Jia Yan fought for a long time and then spoke to the White Dolphin again. In fact, by now, there is no need to fight mentally. I was speechless for a long time. For the first time since losing his arm, the White Dolphin no longer had any words of rebuttal. In the past, Jia Yan had criticized him and ridiculed him again and again, and it could be said that he had bad intentions. However, now that the victory or defeat has been decided, Jia Yan actually does not need to talk too much. But he still said it. Maybe he was sarcastic, but White Dolphin felt emotional in his heart and didn't want to refute anything. Maybe Jia Yan is right. Maybe it's not a kind intention either, but for the White Dolphin, it's more touching. Jia Yan, can you tell me, what is the meaning of living a lifetime? Suddenly, the White Dolphin sighed. Jia Yan was slightly startled, and then he smiled happily. In fact, he didn't have an answer to this question. If anyone can answer your questions, you are either bragging or arrogant. Who can answer this question? Unless there really is some omniscient and omnipotent God, that's pretty much it. It's meaningless. Jia Yan smiled. Actually, in my life, in short, I have never thought too much about this kind of problem in my life. Living in the present is the greatest enjoyment for me. Whether I will regret it in the future, and whether I will have such regrets as you, is not what I will consider at the moment. If you only live in the present, why should you consider the meaning? Live in the moment, why bother thinking about meaning? The White Dolphin was stunned for a moment. It seems like I feel something, but I feel like I feel nothing at all. In fact, he had definitely heard similar words in his hundreds of years of life. However, the status of the person who said these words naturally had a different impact on White Dolphin. Just like Jia Yan, if the flowers and plants on the roadside or ordinary people preach to him, Jia Yan will turn a deaf ear. And if it were replaced by a senior domain master, even more powerful than the senior domain master, Jia Yan might remember it for a lifetime, and maybe even change his own life. To put it bluntly, intelligent beings often act based on status. People with high status will have a large number of believers as long as what they say is not too unreasonable. No matter how philosophical or profound the beggar's words are, no one can believe them. Got it? The long sword in Jia Yan's hand drew the sword flower again. Understood, right now. The White Dolphin's arms grew crazily from its severed limb. The white power was overwhelming, and within this white, there was a lot of black stagnation, which eventually rivaled the power of white. He had already risked his life and consumed all the black power he had gained in creating the world over the past few years in this one blow. Jia Yan smiled calmly again. At the same time, the energy all over his body grew crazily. By opening a tiny bit of the galaxy gate, Edisha communicated the real spiritual power of the outside world with the Black God clone through a broad avenue. Through this avenue, although the spiritual power did not increase dramatically, it did not care about consumption. He can magnify his moves unlimitedly. Realizing that Jia Yan had a backup plan at this time, White Dolphin also laughed at himself. White magic was originally created by me. In the following years, due to carelessness in creation, I kept repairing its loopholes. White Dolphin Yun Danfan said calmly, and a magic element opened in front of him and slowly appeared. Then a magic spear that didn't seem to belong to this world squeezed out of the magic circle bit by bit. Jia Yan didn't bother and watched calmly. During the White Dolphin's final death struggle, Jia Yan thought that maybe he should convince him. This was also the greatest respect he could give to his enemy. Soon the entire spear emerged from the magic circle, and the White Dolphin held the spear in its hand with a click. He was sweating profusely and slightly out of breath. Actually, I regret that I took this world too seriously. I could obviously do better with magic, but I ended up picking up the slack along the way. In the end, my total energy was consumed more than expected. The White Dolphin was shaking his head, as if he was remembering the black god power introduced by Jia Yan in this world. Comparing the two sides, he only felt that what he did was terrible. But he didn't know that the black god's power was an improved version of Jia Yan's yin and yang dao training techniques. Not to mention it had been put into practical application to a certain extent in the black hole area and the North Star, not to mention in this world. If White Dolphin can compete with the random cultivation method, then Jia Yan's yin and yang dao will not be favored by so many big shots. Actually, my yin-yang dao may not be much stronger than the white magic you think at first. Jia Yan couldn't help but comfort him. Anyway, the outcome is decided. Jia Yan still has some sympathy for his enemy. The White Dolphin didn't know what his mood was, but he couldn't help but smile with a smile that was even uglier than crying. Regardless, he lost. The weapon taken out of the white magic was full of energy. It seemed that with one blow, it would definitely split mountains and rocks, and even split the world in half. Jia Yan held a black longsword in his hand, showing no fear. The storm caused by the confrontation between the two people blew tens of thousands of kilometers away. No one in the entire starry sky could stand firm. Even those huge star-level creatures had to stagger back, and they were all dumbfounded. This is just the venerable level clone of senior domain masters, and they can look like this. If the senior domain masters take action themselves, it may really be the end. Even the black and white gods whose physical strength is at the domain lord level have shuddering expressions on their faces. The last burst of mental power from the senior domain master made their skin crawl. It can be seen from this that there is a chasm-like gap between the ordinary domain lord level and the senior domain lord level. Qingling was restless and frowned. Black Tiger is the old god, but there is a hint of surprise in his eyes, which proves that this old guy is definitely not as calm as he imagined. Jia Yan. The White Dolphin raised its erect spear. Although there was a world-destroying white light on the tip of the spear, its eyes were extremely calm. Say a large amount of black energy is also gathering on Jia Yanjian's body, and behind the black energy, an equal amount of white energy emerges inexplicably. The two energies blended in the air and finally formed a very symmetrical and beautiful Tai Chi pattern. It's impossible for me not to use this move. If you ask me to surrender, it's impossible for me to do it because, I'm the young master of the Bai family. Do you understand? Jia Yan was silent for a moment and nodded without responding. Of course he understands. The White Dolphin's identity and the current situation of the war did not allow him, the young master, to surrender without any resistance. If he really admits defeat, the White Dolphin, regardless of his mentality, status, everything, is all over, and Jia Yan also wants to kill him. Just like what he said at the end, the final meaning of his life seemed to be lost. That's the saddest thing. Very good, you can understand me. After this blow, I probably won't survive. I beg you, Jia Yan, can you be kind to my wife and children? The White Dolphin finally lowered his proud young master's head. From the outside, it seems that the two are in the final stage of accumulating energy, and they are opposing each other. However, they were begging for mercy and thinking internally. Jia Yan is thinking. At the same time, I was also inexplicably emotional. Such an enemy actually pleads with himself for the sake of his wife and children. Unknowingly, he thought of his wife, Satsuma Kono, and his son and daughter on Earth. For a moment, some kind of impulse surged into my heart. But he endured it and asked softly. I'll give you a chance. Now, my wife wants life-extending medicine. As the head of the Bai family, do you have it on hand? Even if you don't, do you have any clues? Yes, Jia Yan couldn't tell whether this was giving the white dolphin a chance, or taking advantage of the situation to find his next target. Because no matter what, it is urgent to search for ways to extend life for Satsuma Shrine. My Bai family, has it? However, it has been used up. I have a general understanding of your wife's matter. It cannot be treated in ordinary ways, but I have a clue to tell you. Bai Dolphin probably wanted to say that there was something similar to medicine inside the Bai family, but when the words came to his lips, he changed his mind. If Jia Yan is lured to his Bai family, I'm afraid the Bai family will really be in dire straits. So he needed to use another topic to divert the matter. What clue? In the Northern Territory, there are several forces that specialize in selling such things. After all, in the galaxy, people with similar problems are like crucian carp crossing the river. If you go to them, you might have a chance. How many forces? What forces are they? Are you related? If you only tell me this level of information, I'm sorry, I should be able to find out easily if I inquire about it myself. Jia Yan originally planned to go to the Northern Territory, so he was grateful for such information because he could easily get it. At least it's not enough to offset the death penalty of White Dolphin's wife and children. The White Dolphin probably expected this result. After taking a long breath, he continued, of course I have other clues and connections. All you need to do is. Next, the White Dolphin spoke a lot of words and gave many instructions. Finally, he stopped talking. After looking at the surrounding scene with concentration again, he said calmly, it's a pity that this is not the Milky Way. In the end, I died in the created world. Isn't this called, trapped in a cocoon? Let's begin, Jia Yan, the swan song of the confrontation between the two of us. Jia Yan was well prepared and nodded with the last respect for this great enemy. The strength of both sides has reached its final saturation, and the surrounding crowd is in an uproar. Those in the invincible state were unbelievable, and the weaker mortals were all bursting with tears, kneeling down and mourning, and some people were even more unbearable, being directly affected by the two black and white energies that occupied millions of kilometers. So frightened that he fainted. How old is this world of creation? The coverage area of millions of energy from both sides is so large that even the outermost edge of the world can be seen with the naked eye. For a time, the whole world was in turmoil. The battle between the creation gods has reached an unimaginable level. This single blow can easily destroy the world. Adisha hugged Jialin, who was stunned, and flew further to the battlefield, muttering from time to time, don't worry, Jialin, Adisa will help you, and she won't let you die. Jialin could no longer say any words. The people of this world who were affected were not only shocked, but also because the two creation gods had extracted most of the energy of the entire world at this moment. Even the internal power of mortals and strong men, as long as it is under the control of the black and white gods, is commissioned by 1 to 2%. Although it will not cause their death, it will bring a huge burden to the body. Even Jialin is no exception. The two main gods who had gathered such surging power seemed to have recovered at this last moment into the unrivaled senior domain masters in the outside world, with strength and momentum more blazing than the sun. Yes, they did reach the level of comparable to a senior domain lord in an instant. After all, the energy of the entire world comes from the two senior domain masters. Although now due to the infusion of energy several times, the depth of those invincible realms is unbelievable. The weaker mortals are all bursting with tears, kneeling and mourning. Crying in mourning, some people were even more unbearable. They were frightened and fainted by the two black and white energies that occupied millions of kilometers. How old is this world of creation? The coverage area of millions of energy from both sides is so large that even the outermost edge of the world can be seen with the naked eye. For a time, the whole world was in turmoil. The battle between the creation gods has reached an unimaginable level. This single blow can easily destroy the world. Adisha hugged Jialin, who was stunned, and flew further to the battlefield, muttering from time to time, "Don't worry, Jialin, Adisa will help you, and she won't let you die." Jialin could no longer say any words. The people of this world who were affected were not only shocked, but also because the two creation gods had extracted most of the energy of the entire world at this moment. Even the power inside the bodies of mortals and strong men, as long as it is under the control of the black and white god, is commissioned by 1 to 2%. Although it will not cause their death, it will bring a huge burden to the body. Even Jialin is no exception. And the two main gods who have gathered such surging power seem to be in this final moment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2920. Sir, do you really want to destroy this world? Even Qingling and He Hu were frightened by the battle in front of them. I have never heard of Master Jia Yan destroying this created world before. In this world, they have found a certain kind of self in a different direction, and it is still a self that is not easy to be reproduced by the outside world. It would be a pity if it was destroyed. Brother, don't want it? Adisha and Jialin, who were in a panic, looked even more nervous. Jialin's entire face was as pale as paper. If the world was destroyed, she couldn't imagine what kind of life she would live. After all, she didn't know what was going on outside, so it was normal to have fear in her heart. Besides, there are so many familiar people and things in this world. Can you really adapt when you go out? Clang. When everyone was deceived by the two main gods at the same time, the two seemed to have a telepathic understanding. They swung their guns and swords and concentrated their power on each other's bodies. This offset most of the power of collapsing the space, but increased the attack power. The two of them retreated violently, blood spurting out from the corners of their mouths. Jia Yan, this is what it feels like to fight with you using the power of a senior domain lord. It's a pity, it would be better if I fight with my true body. The white dolphin's legs went limp. There was a huge gaping hole in his chest, and the injury was so severe that even Shirakama's recovery power couldn't make up for it. He, who was already disheartened, no longer made the final struggle. The soft things were floating randomly in the air, his eyes heavy. He knew that he was too seriously injured and had no future. This blow, given Jia Yan's various advantages, was destined to defeat him. The attack was just a pretense, just a formality. Jia Yan was also on the verge of collapse, and he deeply calmed down the energy disorder in his chest. As the black god, he looked back and stared at the seriously injured and dying white dolphin, while extending his palms. Black energy and white energy gather in the palms of both sides. The energy released by the battle between the two just now flowed back again, but instead of pouring into the white dolphin's body, it only entered the victorious Jia Yan's body. His black god clone's power level began to increase by leaps and bounds. Not to mention his injuries, his strength finally broke through the stellar level. This is a natural result. Just now they controlled the energy to carry out a strike at the senior domain lord level. If they absorbed part of it casually, they could far surpass the venerable level. Besides, the ultimate goal of world creation is for this moment. Therefore, Jia Yan is like a giant whale sucking water. Due to the division of power, the heaven and earth appear clearly black and white, almost causing a large-scale world collapse. Amidst people's panic, Jia Yan absorbed enough strength, his injuries recovered in the blink of an eye, and his strength reached the peak of the star in one breath. And there is still a lot of energy, which seems to be absorbed for a long time. However, Jia Yan was absorbing the power of this world while looking at the increasingly haggard white dolphin. His clone began to decompose after being fatally injured. A large part of the white energy absorbed by Jia Yan just now leaked out of this body. Viewed from the sky, the white energy absorbed by Jia Yan's palm turned into threads, and part of it was wrapped around the white dolphin, vaguely indicating that it would suck him dry. To be honest, apart from that, what are your last words? Jia Yan was calm and relaxed, with an uncontrollable light flickering in his eyes. The white dolphin's energy is like a gossamer, sitting cross-legged in the center of the starry sky. In other words, it is not the starry sky, but some kind of material after the void has been shattered, almost reaching the subspace. He coughed twice and tried to raise his eyelids to look at the subspace that seemed so close but was actually far away. As long as he can fly into the subspace, these mental powers of his can return to his true body and find ways to escape. However, he set up the best battlefield for himself and never thought that he would lose. This kind of cocoon trapped him to death. No more, don't talk to me, just like me, disappear. The white dolphin simply closed its mouth and smiled more bitterly. Little Lord. Outside the chaotic void, two strong men wanted to rush into this space, but they were stopped by Qingling and Black Tiger. What's even more exaggerated is that this guy who is clearly a god-level guy couldn't even withstand a single blow when Qingling and Black Tiger blocked him. He seemed to be loyal and brave, but disappeared into thin air when he hit the attack energy. In fact, when they saw other comrades leaving one after another, they became anxious and simply showed their loyalty by pretending to be benevolent. Good acting. Jia Yan smiled sarcastically. The white dolphin raised his eyelids and looked at the direction where the two people disappeared. The gray color in his eyes became more and more, and soon he raised his head and laughed. Ha 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 ha. I don't know if this smile is self-mockery or some other emotion, but to outsiders, it sounds like a mixed bag. Soon, the laughter stopped. The white energy absorbed by Jia Yan seemed to have lost an important source in an instant. I saw the white dolphin lowering its head, and the small intelligent brain mechanical core emitting red light inside his chest also flickered twice in a daze before finally turning into darkness. Within the world of creation, heaven and earth chime together. There is no surging waves like just now. There are no stormy waves. There was only a faint mournful cry, one after another, lasting for a long time, which seemed to ring in people's hearts. Both adults and children could not help but wet their clothes with tears. Bai Shenyun, Black God Sovereign. Although the white god is not the only creator god, myths and legends say that the white god contributes a lot, while the black god is the one who contributes less. In other words, life in this world is like an heir to Baigamai, and Baigamai is also the creator of all living things. However, White God finally fell in the divine battle with Black God. God was in an uproar, and started to rain lightly. It was probably the basic law of the world, and he was spontaneously mourning for the Creator. There are also certain spaces that self-destruct due to being too attached. As a result, large tracts of the world have been destroyed and become uninhabitable places. This war of gods seemed to have started not that long ago, but the casualties caused far exceeded expectations, with about 1/3 of the total population killed. However, with the efforts of the Black God, the world did not shatter in an instant, which means that those who survived at least had a chance to continue living here. No one was buried with Bai Shen. You guy. Jia Yan watched the figure of the young man in white, who after laughing, turned into dots of white light, slowly transformed into the most basic particles, and disappeared into the fragmented starry sky, and looked at it calmly for a long time. Originally, he could stop the white dolphin and eliminate the intelligence brain. After all, the most suitable control method in this world is the intelligence brain that creates the world's laws. Then, even if it is replaced by an intelligence brain with better performance, I am afraid that the control method will be different. There will also be many inconveniences. However, Jia Yan did not take this approach in order to give his opponent enough respect. At least some of the shining points shown by the white dolphin during the fight with him are admirable, so Jia Yan would rather spend a little more money in the future to buy some brains that maintain the world, rather than force it. Keep that core. It's so miserable. As the original intelligence brain, Aditya watched as the red intelligence brain became a little brighter after the white dolphin turned into sand. Then cracks appeared on it, falling apart, and eventually it turned into the basic particles of the world. She felt somewhat the same way. The expression is sad. Adisha, we won? Wasn't the world destroyed? Jia Lin was still a little unbelievable. Yeah, we win. Ha ha ha, the black god type wins. Adisha shouted happily, and this emotion affected Jia Lin, and even the 15-year-old girl cheered. They led the large swaths of black god-type officers and soldiers to come to their senses and roar in victory. However, after observing the winner of the final battle, the remnants of the White God Department felt as if they had been struck by a petrification technique. Lost. Not only Lord White God, but all the White Gods also died inexplicably one by one at the hands of the powerful Black Gods during the war. Originally, those strong men of the White God system were equally matched with the gods of the Black God system. Why? Defeated too quickly. Originally they wanted to say that they really couldn't defeat them, but with the White God Kingdom as a solid stronghold behind them and 3 resource stars, they could still hold on. However, all of this became impossible with the sacrifice of Lord White God at the hands of Black God. In other words, they were naive. The last blow of the 2 main god-level gods almost destroyed the world. How could their naive idea of relying on the White God Kingdom to defend it be achieved? Listen, members of the White God sect, put down your weapons and surrender to the Black God section. The battle between gods, we, the White God sect, have been defeated. There is no longer room for our White God sect to survive in this world. An invincible man conveyed the message with a depressed and wry smile. Large swaths of White God-type officers and soldiers, with expressions such as confusion, anger, unwillingness, discomfort, relief, elation, and a narrow escape, began to surrender in a coordinated manner. It went so smoothly that the members of the Black God Department felt a little surprised. After all, this was the White God Department who had been fighting with them for a long time. Although the White God Department was generally in a mess, the spirit of the last batch of troops was quite impressive. But when I think about it, I feel relieved. Even the gods are dead, so what's the use of their resistance? The Black Gods casually slaughtered each other, which was equivalent to a generational strike. No one in the invincible realm would be the enemy of an ordinary Black God, let alone the Black God who almost destroyed the world. That is to say, from now on, this created world will become the pure and incomparable Black God world. Maybe it won't be long before all the people believe in the Black God system and are unaware of the White God system. The White Gods, who have ruled for countless years, may even be portrayed as extremely evil by the Black Gods. This is probably the winner and the loser. The affairs of this world are over. You will follow me out of this world immediately and hunt down the white dolphins. Aditya, you and Jia Lin will stay here to deal with the rest of the matter. After Jia Yan continued to absorb energy in mid-air for 3 full days, he finally flew into ordinary space. Okay, Adisha seemed to want to go out, but after Jia Yan's order, he couldn't mess with it, so he could only nod and accept. The others showed no excitement at all. Their faces turned cold after hearing this, and they nodded with considerable concentration. The victory of creating the world is indeed a great victory. However, what is more important is that after they have won this great victory, the next step is to return to the normal space of the Milky Way. There are a large number of bi-family generals, soldiers, and strong men waiting for them there. And the Milky Way is different from the created world that can be resurrected. If they use their true bodies to fight against people, they may die. Fortunately, the leader of the White Dolphin Thief has been killed. When we go out, we only need to guard against those powerful domain lords. It won't take long to eradicate the bi-family troops entrenched in the Orion Arm. Hey, it's not that simple. It might still be a fierce battle. Don't forget, their strength was far superior to us. If the White Dolphins hadn't wanted to use the strategy of creating a world, maybe it would have been just me and I waiting for this. With even a little bit of fighting power, the Bi family has long been defeated. We just won a big victory, let alone such a topic that dampens the fighting spirit. In short, the opponent should not have senior domain lord level, but we have Lord Jia Yan, or Lord Jia Yan, who may be greatly improved. That's true. If you didn't mention it, I almost forgot. If Lord Jia Yan wins this victory and gains enough, it is possible to match 1 against 100, then there is no need to worry about the Bai family's tribe and others. It's the thugs. Except for a few of the subordinates who entered this world, the rest were still intact. They carefully observed Jia Yan, who came to them, and saw this giant mosquito clone. At this time, his eyes were extremely sharp, and his energy was even more full. The feeling of terrifying energy that only existed in the bodies of extremely powerful people was almost it cannot be concealed. It seems that Your Excellency has indeed gained a huge harvest. It shouldn't be delayed. I'll leave as soon as possible to see how much Your Excellency has gained in this war that has lasted for several years. Haha, actually we may not gain much. Now that you say it, I'm looking forward to it. He was defeated by the Bai family. We just won a big victory, let alone such a topic that dampens the fighting spirit. In short, the opponent should not have senior domain lord level, but we have Lord Jia Yan, or Lord Jia Yan, who may be greatly improved. That's true. If you didn't mention it, I almost forgot. If Master Jia Yan gains enough from this victory, it is possible to match 1 to 100, then there is no need to worry about the Bai family and their thugs. Except for a few of the subordinates who entered this world, the rest were still intact. They carefully observed Jia Yan, who came to them, and saw this giant mosquito clone. At this time, his eyes were extremely sharp, and his energy was even more full. The feeling of terrifying energy that only existed in the bodies of extremely powerful people was almost it cannot be concealed. It seems that Your Excellency has indeed gained a huge harvest. It shouldn't be delayed. I'll leave as soon as possible to see how much Your Excellency has gained in this war that has lasted for several years. Haha, actually we may not gain much. Now that you say it, I'm looking forward to it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2921. The Milky Way is vast and vast. Maybe the Milky Way is uniquely located, or maybe it's the exact opposite. In short, within the Milky Way, in addition to the many local strong practitioners within the Milky Way itself, there are also obvious signs of life in the neighboring large and small Magellanic Clouds. Apart from this, there is no other life system that has been touched. In other words, the Milky Way is lonely, but it is also lucky. At least there is no interference from external forces. God knows how strong the powerful life forms outside will be. And in this vast galaxy, there is a place called the Orion Arm. It is said to be one place, but in fact it has geographical distinctions in a broad sense. For example, the spiral arm is long and narrow, and the real Orion Arm is also a huge geographical concept. However, within the area divided by people on Earth, the Orion Arm is the Orion Arm area around the Earth, which is only hundreds or thousands of light years away. There may be other wider Orion Arm areas, but they won't fight with you because others won't call themselves Orion Arm. Even inside the Orion Arm, because the languages of major civilizations are different, other civilizations will certainly not. It's called the Orion Arm, That's just what people on Earth call it. At this moment, within the Orion Arm, a large number of troops from all major civilizations are gathering on the front line. Inside a planet, light rain has been falling for a long time. This planet is a planet rich in water resources. The large amount of water vapor makes this planet an important source of water resources on the front line. A few days ago, I heard that the troops from the Bai family were approaching the border in large numbers. However, they seemed to take something away in a short period of time, and then quickly retreated. It almost scared me to death. Hey, you guy, you claim to be bold, but there are times when you are afraid. Hey, daring is someone else's seal, but I have never admitted it. If I didn't know how to respect the strong in this world, I would have died countless times, okay. Several strong creatures with approximately starry sky level strength, with different shapes, unfolded some kind of machine under the waterfall, and then the machine was turned on to replenish the water tank of a giant 1-kilometer steel machine behind them. For the soldiers on the planet, apart from having to guard against sudden sneak attacks by the defending enemy, the rest of the time is quite comfortable. They only need to search for relatively good water resources and then send them to the front of the starry sky. This is just a resource star that can be seen everywhere on the front line of the huge Orion Arm. However, today, they are destined to feel thrilling in the safe resource star. A shocking force gathered in the space. Soon, some people noticed the huge changes in the sky, and they all raised their heads. No, this is an energy change within the subspace. Is there any strong person coming from the subspace? Maybe it's an enemy. Inside our Orion Arm, it is said that only Mr. Jia Yan is a strong person in the subspace. The others are either too weak or do not major in subspace. The strong soldiers and warriors felt solemn and quickly observed the sky. Soon, within the cracked starry sky, there was a movement, as if some living creature had finally woken up after sleeping for a long time, causing the earth to shake. The whole planet was shaking violently. Who is your excellency? Naturally, there are strong men sitting on this planet. The high-ranking strong men from the Orion Arm Alliance army look like crab-like supreme beings, flying from below the earth like a rainbow. The emphasis on resource stars is a top priority for the Orion Arm. Therefore, a venerable peak presence was specially arranged here. You must know that there are generally not many strong people in the Orion Arm, so having a venerable peak presence is already quite good. However, this strong crab at the top of the sage quickly fell silent after waving his 7 or 8 kilometer long body in a few powerful moves with his big pliers, wind, fire, clicking like scissors. After feeling the energy conveyed inside the space again, he suddenly felt like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. Quick! Ask for help from the outer stars. This is a strong man who has at least reached the peak of the stars. When this venerable man reached the top of his body, he felt frightened. That time, some joking voices sounded inside the space crack. Oh! I am only at the top of the star level? It turns out that in your eyes, I am so weak. The voice was a little lazy, but the meaning of senility in it was extremely clear. The venerable crab at the bottom is originally like a mourner. If the visitor is an enemy, he can start to think about his life, and then go to see God with these glimpses. However, after hearing this voice that seemed both majestic and familiar, he was suddenly startled. Senior. Is it you? Pyridine. A thick arm tore the space apart, and then a huge thing walked out of it. As soon as this behemoth appeared, it covered the sky and the sun, almost covering the entire world. The huge body, which is a full 40 kilometers long, is jaw-dropping. However, after meeting this creature, the powerful man with a size of several kilometers, the peak of the venerable, showed surprise in his eyes. Sir! It is indeed the old master. I haven't seen you for a long time, senior. I heard that you and Mr. Jia Yan performed a secret mission together. I wonder how the mission went after several years. This powerful man at the top of the venerable was quite familiar with the old man in front of him, who looked like a tiger but was not like a tiger, and who was full of life and death, because he had worked beside this strong man 5 years ago. Several years have passed, and the old strong man is still so senile. Old, senior. The strong creature who had just revealed his body looked at the small mountains and rivers below. Each strong creature was also far smaller than himself. The eyes that looked at him were like looking at an old man who was about to die. He suddenly felt uncomfortable. This is the gap. In that world, he can play the role of a refreshing young tiger, and he can also flirt with strong girl tigers everywhere. But back in the real world, these benefits are gone, and everyone looks at me as a dying person. Damn it, it's really uncomfortable. Well, I did go on a mission with Mr. Jiayan. Now that the mission has been completed perfectly, Mr. Jiayan must be nearby. It won't be long before we will come out again and defeat the enemy in one fell swoop. You wait, you can rest assured. The speaker is casual, but the listener is stirred up in his heart. The crab creature paused for a moment when the old man said these words, and then almost cried with joy. Great, your excellencies have reappeared and brought good news. The war will be over soon. He turned on the communicator and transmitted information to the outside. A similar scene unfolds in several directions, but the form is not so similar, but the results are similar. In short, in today's Orion Arm, Lord Jiayan and his party, who had been missing for several years and were almost thought to be an accident by the Orion Arm Alliance, reappeared without any warning. This group of strong men is very strange. They appear in random places and all come out of subspace. Judging from their disordered chi and their bodies that have not moved for a long time, it seems as if these rusty strong adults have been sleeping somewhere for several years. But who would believe it? The front line was in the middle of a fierce battle, and they still looked for a place to lazily rest. That would be a bit too conceited. But this is not wrong. This group of powerful people, including Jiayan, have all been sleeping in the subspace for so many years. It's just that they are being lazy, which is a bit wrong. After all, they are in the creation world, engaged in a life and death war with the enemy's main force. If you really want to talk about it, the impact and intensity of this war are far more complicated than what the Orion Arm is currently doing. However, this group of awakened strong men appeared one by two in random directions in the subspace. Outsiders couldn't guess what was going on with them, so they regarded the matter as an unjust case. Unless the adults told them, no one could find out the real situation. However, what surprised them was that when they saw the powerful men above the galaxy level who seemed to have just woken up, they were barely able to wake up, and someone ordered them to raise troops. Among them, Leda, the strongest dog licker in Orion's Arm, is the most energetic. He led a large number of formal troops and reserves, and on the day he recovered, he rushed towards the nearest bi-family position. Led by a galaxy-level powerhouse, this force quickly wiped out the bi-family's position with astonishing efficiency. However, the most surprising thing is that when the position was cleared by a team led by a strong man from the Orion Arm, there was no sign of any strong men of the same level from the bi-family rushing to help, or even reacting. All Orion Arm troops felt the abnormality. Of course, without waiting for the enemy to make more movements, the Orion Arm soldiers also seized the opportunity. Under the leadership of strong men above the galaxy level, they either formed formations, sent out small teams of strong men, or simply used large groups of the technological fleet rushed towards the white god-type troops that followed them. I originally thought that such a large-scale war would definitely trigger the greatest countermeasures from the white gods. It would even be possible for a few domain lords to come out and counterattack several armies of the Orion Arm Alliance. But something even more surprising happened. Not only did the bi-family's troops not have any counterattack, even those troops that were attacked stopped one by one. All the strong leaders just thought about how to pull the troops to escape as much as possible, and some simply searched for the best weapons in the base. Most of the wealth was taken away with his cronies and fled. Not even a decent resistance could be mounted. The Orion army was completely dumbfounded. If it weren't for the clear-cut banner of the bi-family coalition forces, they would have thought they were fighting a completely different force. After all, until yesterday, the bi-family's troops were still suppressing the Orion arm. Every Orion arm soldier passed he was walking on thin ice, thinking that if the bi-family coalition forces wanted to, the Orion arm troops would be defeated by this group of coalition forces like ice and snow collapsing. But no. Instead, the bi-family coalition forces became a massacred force. After fighting, the Orion arm soldiers discovered that within the bi-family alliance, the most critical and important role was no longer strong. Yes, he is a strong one. In a galaxy where the strong are respected, whether you are an ordinary troop or a top troop, the existence of strong men is indispensable. They may not take action or hide in the rear, but they cannot help but exist. No matter how anxious the frontline soldiers are in the battle, as long as they know that there are strong people behind them at any time, they will feel extremely at ease and more willing to fight to the death on the front line. But now, as for the bi-family alliance, there are no higher-level experts at all. Not to mention the galaxy level, there seem to be only a few of the star level. With the strong ones gone, those ordinary soldiers would not have the courage to fight. Therefore, even if there are more people and more advanced technological weapons, they still cannot avoid the end of the tree falling and the Hosen scattering. The group of Orion arm galaxy level and above powerhouses who had just walked out of subspace seemed to be prepared for this situation, and all operations to defeat and gather supplies were carried out in an orderly manner. What the hell is going on? Inside a certain frontline troop battleship, a young man wearing a general uniform was in disbelief. This young man is extremely handsome in appearance, with delicate features and a youthful and mature look. No matter who looks at him, it is certain that he is a genius with unlimited future prospects. However, now, this young man rarely showed a little shock. Find the bookstore. However, no matter how handsome this young man is, and how many people don't want to believe it, in short, his face is vaguely similar to the ordinary Jia Yan. Of course it was Jia Yan when he was a human on Earth. Master, in my opinion, it should be, Lord Giant Mosquito has returned and killed the enemy leaders and generals to the point of fear. Otherwise, it would be impossible to have such a situation. Lord Giant Mosquito. The young man was slightly startled. Then he showed a little bit of joy. With the strong ones gone, those ordinary soldiers would not have the courage to fight. Therefore, even if there are more people and more advanced technological weapons, they still cannot avoid the end of the tree falling and the Hosen scattering. The group of Orion arm galaxy level and above powerhouses who had just walked out of subspace seemed to be prepared for this situation, and all operations to defeat and gather supplies were carried out in an orderly manner. What the hell is going on? Inside a certain frontline troop battleship, a young man wearing a general uniform was in disbelief. This young man is extremely handsome in appearance, with delicate features and a youthful and mature look. No matter who looks at him, it is certain that he is a genius with unlimited future prospects. However, now, this young man rarely showed a little shock. However, no matter how handsome this young man is, and how many people don't want to believe it, in short, his face is vaguely similar to the ordinary Jia Yan. Of course it was Jia Yan when he was a human on Earth. Master, in my opinion, it should be, Lord Giant Mosquito has returned and killed the enemy leaders and generals to the point of fear. Otherwise, it would be impossible to have such a situation. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2922. In fact, when it comes to traveling in and out of the created world, it is absolutely impossible for the Orion arm strongmen represented by Jia Yan to fake it. it is a fact that the Bai family is taking the lead in this matter. The attitude of those who wish to take the bait also shows that Jia Yan and the others definitely have a full assessment. Otherwise, their mental power will be locked up if they enter, and there will be an ambush when they go out. They will only die if they are stupid. This is reflected vividly in the victory over the creation of the world. Qingling Black Tiger Rita and the others, after their mental power created the world, they instantly diffused and disappeared into the subspace. They also had a dispersion method that conformed to a series of calculation methods such as computer science, subspace science, mathematics, etc., and began to develop their mental power. Shuttle. These were tacit agreements reached between the two parties. Some mathematical calculation equations require one section of each to be taken out. This will make it difficult for the two sides to break out of war again due to their close proximity after leaving the outside world. Moreover, when both sides create the world, they will invariably approach their own territory. This is why the strong men of the Orion arm appear in the Orion arm, and the strong men of the Bai family are on the other side of the battle line. However, there are exceptions. That is Jia Yan. The so-called artistic master is bold. Jia Yan's real body in the outside world is indeed located in the subspace in the background of the Orion arm, and he has his own unique way of defense. With the bonus of subspace talents, it is almost difficult except for the strong ones at the domain lord level to attack in person. Threaten him. But after he flew out of the world of creation last time and brought several stars in, he changed his strategy. Because he understood the pros and cons of White Dolphin's plan. Instead of waiting for the outcome of the war in the created world, it is better to keep the true body near the created world. He already knows the location of the created world, and his true body is nearby, making it easy for him to launch his true body and attack anytime and anywhere. What a coincidence, the creation world is on the Bai family's side. So his black god clone had just flown into the subspace, and he had no time to say anything to his subordinates. He saw that everyone turned into twisted particles in the subspace, and then turned into a stream of information, randomly drilling into the depths of the subspace. He was stunned. Finally, he smiled and let his black god clone fall apart. As this black god, who created the world and was admired by countless people, turned into dust, his mission came to an end. Not far away, the particle stream quickly penetrated into the body of a huge creature. Well. Caca. Click, click, click. Click, click, click. Within the twisted and quiet space, there is nothing, and the twisted space is suddenly magnified. And inside this enlarged and twisted area, a twisting force that is obviously different from this space seems to have arrived in this area unexpectedly. The power of distortion directly caused the destruction of space, and the power of distortion was covered by the surrounding forces, causing a large number of ripple reactions. The entire world was vast, with a majestic and huge volume like a bell, spreading rapidly. In the distorted area in the distance, which is also near the shallow layer of subspace, there are powerful troops from the White God system. They vaguely observed this scene, which immediately aroused his vigilance. There is a strange movement in the subspace. It is probably around the 7th level of the subspace. At this deep level, only galaxy-level powerhouses can enter. Check it quickly. Maybe it is the existence of my Bai family. Yes. The strong man's eyes were filled with surprise and uncertainty, and he looked forward with a hint of worry. It's not the time for the decisive battle on the Orion arm yet, so he doesn't know that the strong men in the creation world have already decided the winner and are launching an offensive against the Bai family. But the masters of the Bai family's alliance of forces who came out of the creation world predicted to him that the Bai family would suffer in this battle. So he was wary of whether the existence that came out of the space this time was someone from the Bai family. I hope this being belongs to my Bai family. Even if the Bai family loses, except for the young master Bai Dolphin, everyone else should still be able to survive. This strong man is at the pinnacle of the stars, and he was almost selected to enter the battle to create the world, so he is quite knowledgeable about the inside story of the creation world. Even if they lose, only the white dolphin will die, and the others will definitely not be in danger of death, because they only have mental power in that world. Boom boom boom. When other subordinates of the army began to inspect the 7-layer deep subspace, the chaos in the entire subspace had escalated, and endless power began to surge. No. This is definitely a disorder that can only be caused by those with strong subspace talents. Who is coming out? Young Master? Or, that Jia Yan? The face of this stellar peak powerhouse completely changed. The young master should be at a disadvantage inside, and when he leaves the creative world, he should not be on his side. Sir, Your Majesty. Urgent information came from above. This is. Suddenly, a subordinate in charge of communications lost his mind, rushed to the side of the strong man at the top of the star, and shouted with an extremely pale face. What information? Creation, the battle to create the world, the young master was defeated. Jia Yan won the overall situation. Damn it! It's Jia Yan who's coming out. The demeanor of the strong man at the top of the star suddenly changed. He quickly retreated and ordered, everyone has an order, collect all equipment and supplies, and retreat. He doesn't care about his subordinates at all. I believe that if it were Jia Yan himself, he would not bother to take action against those who were not as strong as a star. However, he, a star-level expert, was enough to cause the senior domain lord to personally kill them. However, he retreated too slowly. And who said Jia Yan would have the self-esteem of a strong man? When he was about to leave this chaotic subspace area, an earth-shaking energy penetrated from inside the space. The energy of a senior domain lord is so terrifying and exaggerated. This power shot through the 7th level space in an astonishing way, penetrated all the obstacles, came to the normal starry sky outside, and then penetrated out of the normal 1st level space and shot at the few venerable level strong men blocking the way in the outer layer. Ah! These venerable level beings only had time to let out a scream before they were directly swallowed up by the energy. If the creatures in the created world knew that the supreme beings in the world they created were only one level short of gods, they would not be able to withstand even a single move from a strong person, and they would be shocked. However, the reality is far more exaggerated than imagined. The energy burst out of the subspace without warning, and then rushed to catch up with the Star Peak expert who was trying his best to escape. When he roared and used all his strength to defend, the energy passed through his defensive body without any hindrance. Then it passed through the chest, bringing up a pile of monster blood. Me. The strong man's eyes quickly turned gray. The vitality that originally existed at the peak of a star could survive even if it was pierced through the heart. However, the destructive power of that energy, one positive and one negative, directly destroyed him completely. His body functions were destroyed, and this was something he couldn't resist. The powerful creatures watching the scene all around felt their hearts tightening and fled as fast as they could with fearful expressions. However, what surprised them was that the powerful creature existing inside the subspace made no further moves after releasing this energy. In the entire space, except for the dead Star Peak expert and a few venerables who were unlucky enough to be wiped to death, everything seemed to be still and motionless. However, even so, they did not dare to approach this area again. Even if it wasn't Jia Yan, there was someone who could injure the strongest person at the top of the star with one blow. They were definitely not someone they could provoke. They just had to wait for the stronger ones to come and investigate. Actually, Jia Yan didn't even think about chasing him. He deliberately killed the strong man at the pinnacle of the star. In addition to killing the chicken to scare the monkeys, the bigger reason was that only this pinnacle of the star existed. There was a slight possibility that it would pose some danger to him who was inside the 7th layer of subspace. Of course it's just a possibility. The reason why he did not pursue other troops was that the weak did not need to bother his senior domain masters to pursue them. The second is that he doesn't have the time. Good. The harvest within the created world, the victory within the created world cannot be said to be complete, or even harvested. After creating the world, this is the beginning of reaping the fruits of victory. Everything about the white dolphin, as well as so many insights and benefits that the clone has gained in the created world, now take time to be transformed into the real body. Use the distortion power to wrap yourself up and move to another place, at least 200 million kilometers away. As for the search for the white dolphin's body, let's wait until it comes out of seclusion. Jia Yan has not forgotten his final bet with the white dolphin. It is to devour the opponent's body. He is quite looking forward to the reward of this kind of gambling. Now let's start with the devouring of the gains from creating the world. To be honest, it's just an appetizer, about 1/3 of the total harvest. Of course, if you include Jia Yan's own insights and gains in the created world, I'm afraid it will reach the full harvest. Half. But even so, he was looking forward to devouring the white dolphin. Since the battle bet has been reached, white dolphin should also be prepared and look forward to his body being cleansed, otherwise it will affect the taste. Even though Jia Yan has hundreds of years of cultivation in his heart, he is still full of joy at this time. Gudu. When he came to a subspace, he directly entered the 8th floor, and then used his subspace talent to induce a large number of subspace distortions, wrapping the giant mosquito's body, creating a structure that even a senior domain master would find difficult to detect easily. After entering the invisible area, he couldn't wait to enter the meditation stage. The main gain carried out by the clone, in addition to the huge flow of information, is the energy and mental power that he had previously gambled and thrown into the creative space, followed by the energy and mental power from the white dolphin. Large tracts of information flow surrounding the giant mosquito's body began to condense rapidly. This is a way of carrying energy and mental power that Jia Yan has never thought of, and it is also an energy carrying method that helps maintain the creation of the world. Jia Yan is somewhat interested in studying it, but now is not the time. Under Jia Yan's active absorption, the information flow was quickly classified into categories. Mental power is mental power, and energy is energy. It began to be absorbed into Jia Yan's body. The front end of the giant mosquito's mouthparts has a mouth needle for absorption. Jia Yan is accustomed to using a mouth needle for absorption. A lot of power pours in from the stylet. There is no obstacle to absorbing his own body strength and mental power. Soon, he will make up for the huge energy and mental power he lost in creating the world. A lot has been lost in the current world of creation, but it doesn't matter. That part only needs to be cultivated slowly and it will recover naturally with little impact. Here's the big catch. Jia Yan focused his compound eyes on the information flows farther away from his body. These are all the energy and spiritual power of the white dolphin. Come on. How much you can improve me depends on now. Jia Yan's only hope is that his efforts over the past few years will not be in vain. As those pheromones were attracted by Jia Yan, they came to the front of the mouthparts, and then were sucked into the inside of the needle. Buzz. Jia Yan only felt that his evolved beast-devouring physique, which had not taken effect for a long time, was reactivated. A faint blue color began to burst out all over his body, and finally lit up his entire body, causing his whole body to become numb. It turned completely blue. The essence of the azure evolved beast caused Jia Yan's body to quickly transform from a dark and evil mosquito into a mysterious and sacred blue mosquito. It feels so good. My God, this may be the most comfortable energy I have swallowed in my life. There is no pain, and there is no resistance when it is still so pure and huge. However, this may be related to the fact that I fought against the white dolphin so many times in the creation world and swallowed the white god's power all the time. The entire energy system has already accepted the white dolphin. It is no wonder that the white dolphin is not an evolved beast. if his creating the world does not have this effect, and it must be impossible for him to swallow my power. Jia Yan was quickly relieved. The swallowing world created by the white dolphin must have allowed him to swallow his own evolutionary beast. Even a being with an ordinary swallowing physique like him can swallow the power of other life forms. Then he, a serious man, is famous for swallowing the evolution of the beast. How can a beast swallow up inconveniences? Ha ha ha, I guess the white dolphin has never thought that I can have such an efficient devouring effect after winning. The total energy consumed is less than 1%, if it were the white dolphin that devoured me, I'm afraid he would have lost all of it. There will be more than 20%. Jia Yan sneered. This shows that it is God's will to win, otherwise the white dolphin will win, which will be a waste of energy. The body is bathed in the extremely pure senior domain master level energy. Because the energy of both parties has long been purified by the created world, and Jia Yan has already understood the energy system of the white dolphin in the created world, and thanks to Jia Yan's own evolved beast devouring the innate physique, the effect and speed are extremely good. Feeling the rapid increase in the energy level of the senior domain master in his body, and his understanding of the energy of the universe is also rising steadily. With the addition of the Bai family's cultivation method, Jia Yan has not experienced a rapid increase in energy for a long time. Quickly created in the body. He also didn't know how much his strength would increase after he devoured half of the energy and found the white dolphin's true body.